G'day everybody, wherever you happen to be watching around the world or right here in our own backyard of Australia. Welcome to the opening round of the 2021 ASR Supercars Championship, proudly brought to you by Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions. 100 days precisely. That is how long it has been since the Supercars field here in ASR took to the track in anger. And it was a half a world away, all the way in the middle of the Bahraini desert, where Kurt Stenberg surged to title number one in ASR in what has probably been one of the more dominant seasons in recent memory, with over half the race wins on offer. But that was last year. This is now. A lot has changed. Not only are a number of the drivers from last season carrying over their cars and their driving abilities to this year, but there's a new crop of drivers looking to make a name for themselves here. Much the same way that myself and my fellow co-commentator Hans Brunswick made a name for ourselves in this little escapade over the last 2 years. And the best thing about no COVID restrictions anymore is he's back in studio. Great to have you aboard again, Hans.
Always a pleasure, and it's great to be back here. Good evening, everyone. And tonight we have got an absolute feast for sore eyes, don't we? We have one of the greatest shows on offer tonight. We've got over 20 cars on the grid tonight, and we have amazing liveries in the field. The track looks amazing, and I just can't wait to get out there again and just be able to talk about race cars going round. It's going to be great.
It certainly is, and it's been great over the last couple of months as well to see the return to racing happening right around the world as well as in our own backyard. I mean, this is what a lot of people turn to in the last 12 to 18 months, getting a lot of time inside four walls, as we like to call it, spending time with your sim rigs. A lot of people just buying a lot of gear is a very, very popular pastime, and it still is a very popular pastime. And not only have we got a local flavour with a lot of local drivers from all around Australia, but we've even got an international flavour. We've got some up-and-coming New Zealand talent, and we've also got a couple of drivers that periodically will appear from overseas as well. And the only thing I need to apologise for right now is if there is a little bit of noise in the background. That is unfortunately unintended. There's one of the little things we have to do about working from some home studios sometimes, Hans, isn't it?
Well, it puts the home into home studio, doesn't it? There's the studio, we're right in here, but there's also a home attached to the rest of it, which is a bit problematic, isn't it? But no, it's going to be great, especially seeing the large crop of talent coming from overseas countries. New Zealand, I believe, well, we've got one moving from the Philippines back to India right now, and we've got maybe even a Canadian as well coming in along the line. But it's going to be great to see a whole heap of international drivers as well taking part in, our very own homegrown Australian Supercar series.
Yeah, it certainly pulls in a lot of interest. Our own local series, not just in a local environment, but even in real life. People watching it from around the world. So if you are watching from somewhere outside of Australia, g'day from us down here, down under. Hope you are all staying safe and well wherever you happen to be, looking after yourselves while we try and put this unfortunate COVID crisis to bed over the next little bit. It's certainly not been an easy thing to get rid of, and plenty of countries have had their fair share of trouble trying to keep it under control. But there's still a fair way to go until we get that done, so stay safe everybody, and please look after yourselves and each other, as one Jerry Springer would like to say at the end of all of his little TV shows, which I'm not sure if they're still circulating on the free-to-air networks or not, but I haven't seen it for a while.
No, I haven't seen it for a while,
No.
but I'm sure I spent a few too many days as a young boy watching Jerry Springer. But anyway, explains a lot. But no, very good program, don't you think?
Oh, well, it was when it was some filler to go, but that's like a lot of things could be said about that with all the
Almost
reruns and that nowadays.
Looks pure and wholesome compared to what we see on television nowadays. But let's not talk about that. Let's talk about race cars going around a racetrack, and keen to see it.
Well, we're not too far away from seeing it. We've got a little bit of time to go until we get to the qualifying session in about 12 or so minutes' time. But what we'll do is, if you haven't seen one of these before, there is a little bit just to take in about the overall concept of how the series is structured. There's been a little bit of change over the last 12 months, so here's a very, very brief interlude as to what you can look forward to this season. The 2021 ASR Supercars season introduces a number of changes from seasons past. For the first time in community history, the series has a naming rights sponsor, with Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions not only providing backing to the Synergy Sim Racing squad this year, but also in the form of trackside and broadcast signage all season long. The most notable change this year is the cars being fielded for competition. the retirement of the Holden VF Commodore, Volvo S60, Mercedes E63 and Ford FGX Falcon leaves just 3 cars available: the Holden ZB Commodore, the Nissan L33 Altima and the all-new for 2021 Ford Mustang GT. Mechanically, only a few small changes have been introduced. A handbrake is now available to drivers to assist with standing starts. Drivers are also no longer able to adjust the front ride height, but can still adjust the rear ride height, as well as use packers on the rear springs. Other than these small changes, the rest of the setup options on the 2021 cars remains the same as per previous seasons. Speaking of previous seasons, the season calendar and round structure gets the 4th shake-up in as many seasons. The calendar is the shortest it has ever been at just 10 rounds long, with a night of racing coming around every 3 weeks. There's a long break between rounds 8 and 9 for the much hyped Enduro Cup, before completing the season prior to Christmas. The multidisciplined distance format of sprint, feature and endurance of the last 2 seasons is out in favour of a simpler 2 race per night single distance format. The twin 90km races from last season increased this year to 100km each, in an effort to spice up the racing and open up the strategy options. Each race now has its own qualifying session instead of the progressive grid format from race 1 to race 2. This gives a reprieve to drivers who end up with a bad first race result through no fault of their own, and allows them to salvage something from a night of racing. With only 20 races across 10 nights and a more regular racing schedule this year, drivers will need to be on the pace early to make the best of their 2021 championship aspirations. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, just a little snippet as to what you can expect over the next 10 rounds of racing across the year. So all the way from March the 19th, which we're on today, all the way through until the early stages of December. A bit more of a regular racing calendar, Hans, than what we had in previous years, where sometimes there was, 2-week gap, 3-week gap, 4-week gap between races, because in real life we were trying to follow the real life Supercars calendar and do a race sort of roughly about the same time, not necessarily the same tracks, but something on a similar regular footing. But a bit of a switch up this year. Probably the biggest thing I think that a lot of people have been keen on is the regular 3-week sort of block that we're referring to. So normally we have Super 2 on the first week in the block, Supercars on the second week in the block, and then the third week in the block is a bye week. Basically everybody has a bit of time off. So it's going to be a little bit of getting used to for some people, but I actually like the concept of just a little bit more of a regular type of racing, a little bit more regular seat time, and a bit more predictable for people.
Yeah, and it also helps the people that, when you're not living in the ideal time zone, especially those in WA or elsewhere in Australia and also in New Zealand, and wherever you may be in the world, now you can come and race with us because we are on Fridays now. So hopefully that opens up the category to plenty more people. And also, there's anything to be done here at ASR. There's plenty of things going on. So it's always something's going on. But I think the bye week is actually pretty good because sometimes you do get really sim raced out and you end up just 7 days in a row of sim racing. It's not pretty after a while, let me tell you. So it's good that we get to have some regular racing, but then a regular break as well. So it's not too compressed. So I think it's quite a good development.
Yeah, you're right. And the other thing that you just mentioned there too is the shift to Friday nights. The last 3 years, Supercars has always been on a Thursday night as part of ASR. And the move to Friday nights was a big topic in the off-season about trying to open up some more interest, especially across the ditch to our friends in New Zealand. And of course, we've got 4 of them in the field tonight and a handful more that are watching along, and a couple of guys that would run in Super 2, and a few of them will probably be wildcarding at some point or another as well. So you're right, opening up that time zone, going to the Friday night, it's a bit easier to sort of go a little bit later into the night on a Friday than it is on a Thursday night, because you've got Saturday, you've got a weekend off, so you don't have to worry too much about what happens the next day, fronting for work all bleary-eyed and what have you. And of course, there's only one more week or two until we get to daylight saving. Actually, 2 weeks, sorry. 2 weeks until daylight savings is no longer So that'll mean that people over on the other side of the country, so Western Australia, no longer would be 2 hours or 3 hours behind time, would be only 2 hours behind time. So you're right, starting to open up some of those opportunities for drivers to make it to the series on a bit more of a regular basis. Well, what we'll do now is I've only got about 5 or so minutes left in the practice session, so let's go and have a bit of a look and to see what's happening at the moment. So on screen, one of the Kiwis making their debut into the main game series, having stepped up from Super 2. Some pretty impressive results from a number of drivers in Super 2 stepping up into the main series this year. I'm just trying to count the numbers in my head. I reckon there's got to be at least a half a dozen, if not more, that didn't race last year in main game and have found their way into a very, very packed midfield, Hans.
Yeah, the midfield certainly is going gangbusters. It's almost packed with talent in a sense, because with a lot of the Kiwi guys as well, they have stepped up from Super 2 and they were absolutely head and shoulders above the field in Super 2, and now they are racing with the big boys, as it were, and they're doing a pretty good job at it as well. So plenty of new and young up-and-coming talent coming up. I'm just having a look at Lachlan Burke at the moment. He actually won the round at the Super 2, ASC Super 2 round at Bathurst, which was held, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I can't remember. It's all becoming a bit of a blur for me. But Lachlan Burke, very, very handy steerer around Mount Panorama, and hopefully he can do a really good job tonight, because right now he's in provisional 11th position with about 4.5 minutes remaining in this practice session.
His time's not too bad as well. We look on the live timing, an 18.898 is his best lap. Just struggling a little bit through the opening chicane. He was struggling toward the back end of the lap too, so I'm wondering whether he's on a race run and just sort of trying to attempt to see how far he can stretch the tyres as he promptly exit back to the pits. And there's a number of drivers that are doing the same. And a number of new liveries, and this man, well, he's no stranger to real-life liveries, going onto cars that never had those liveries in the real life, and he's done a fantastic job yet again. Termo.
Yeah, Termo always does a good job in the car, or whether it is painting the liveries as well, he does a good job. Typically with his number 51, as always, the big Greg Murphy fan that he is, Termo, and hopefully he'll be looking to terminate the competition right now, in a sense of, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you are dominated. But, iconic quotes aside and iconic cars aside, Termo, he's down in the doldrums at the moment, 17th, but I think he's focusing on a race run as well. But Termo, I always say it whenever I watch him on screen, he is pretty handy in whatever he jumps in, and he'll be looking to put together another solid season for the CRE. I don't want to say B team, but the second of the CRE teams, I guess the Pro-Am team, as it were.
Yeah, yes, last year it was the Pro-Am team, and this year there's just the no Pro-Am split this year. It's just you drive what you brought and you're all in the same category. So Termo and his teammate Cam Rutledge, the CRE Motorsports team, and the sister team, I guess, as you were rightly putting it, to the CRE Race Engineering Squad, fronted by Will Devonish and Pete Savage, who's been parachuted into that vacant seat in the off-season. A bit of conversation to be had, I think we should say, as the night drags on, about how all that came about. And you've got a little bit of a special coming up in between qualifying and the race. Then you will run through the drivers and give a bit of a lowdown on how everybody ended up where they are and who's in what car and what livery. So everybody gets to have a bit of a look and learn the names just the same way that we have to, I guess, in the lead up to every race.
Well, now we've got to get used to the fact that, new faces, new cars, new teams, and new liveries as well. So the whole shooting match is something we need to relearn. But in that sense, it's quite entertaining, I guess, because the whole silly season, I think it sort of adds to the competition in a way. And there are some mind games which might be playing out through the season as some of the drivers, there's definitely no love lost between them. So it's going to be interesting. Foley locks the rears, almost four-wheel slides off the road there. So not a very pretty entry to that corner. Great looking livery on this car. They've got slight differences between the 444 and the 074.
Yeah, not very much in terms of difference as well. We can see if we might be able to pick up Brendan Ross in a minute and see if we can have a look at the livery. There's some very subtle differences between the liveries on some of the cars, some very subtle colour changes and highlight changes. And actually both the PBF cars are in the pits at the moment.
probably a debrief at the transporter. They got a pretty flash transporter, Red Bull Racing. That's pretty good.
Yeah, actual fact, in the Red Bull liveries, we were joking about this in the last couple of days with the spotters guide going up, all the liveries, that probably the Red Bull cars in the ASR Supercars Championship probably could have been parachuted in livery-wise on the current real-life supercars and probably wouldn't have looked a lot better than what the current ones are. What's your take on that?
Well, I've heard that Red Bull's a very difficult sponsor to work with in terms of giving their requirements and the other requirements of the people who pay for the sticker space on the cars as well. But I think the designers, they do a pretty good job of fitting all those needs together. And Red Bull do have some specific needs, and they all manage to fit that together and make it all work for the real-life Red Bull Ampol Racing. But here we have the creative liberty of letting our minds run wild in terms of what we want to put on the car. As Colin Warwick goes faster to the first sector. He's just on Adelaide Straight now, heading into turn 8, the famous turn 8. And we're going to see plenty of cars whack that wall on the outside. And if you just graze it, you don't get any damage on board. And the car goes, it's absolutely flying through there. Four-wheel on the slide. It's you definitely know you're alive at that point.
Yeah, you certainly do. And he got just about as close to that wall as he probably really wants to on this flying lap. 10th up. So his current provisional time of 1:17.823, the best benchmark in practice so far. And now this is the business end of practice. So everyone's starting to tune the car around what they're about to go into for the qualifying session in just a few moments' time. And found a bit more too. So found another 10th and a half. So mid-17. So good job, Colin Warwick. He goes to a 1:17.5. And everybody has now cycled back to the pit lane. So that was a very, very quick finish to the session. And we are about to go into a 10-minute qualifying session. So in years gone past, qualifying has taken on a various sort of raft of form. It has been a 1-lap shootout, a 2-lap shootout, an unlimited lap count, and tonight it is the unlimited lap count that has been returned. And already the lane starting to fill up, so drivers just need to be acutely aware here of the red light at the pit lane exit. There we go. Very, very nicely observed by NZ Snipes. Followed, of course, by Colin Warwick. Mitch McGovern, one of the
bit
Mustangs.
Of a bump there.
Yep, and that was Stenberg behind him as well. So there's a bit of already a bit of gamesmanship, I think, being shown here. Maybe I'm not sure if Stenny was paying attention or if that was intentional or not. We won't say it was intentional. It's probably just an accident.
Probably with the driving position in these cars, you can barely see over the steering wheel.
Yeah, and there's a lot of traffic. I mean, if you go, and here's the green light, so you can see them all filing out of pit lane. So nobody wants to waste any time here.
Oh, a bit of a traffic jam. Almost Constantina there. Higginson nearly went into the back of someone.
Yeah, I think Higginson was waiting to sort of slot in front of Will Devonish, and that was the other one of the Mustangs in the AAR stable, I think, that maybe might have been there. I'm not sure if it was...
Ooh, NZ Snipes down the escape road already.
Yeah, so he's gone off at turn number 1, and he was the man who was out first. And let's have a look at that one on the Smith & Sons replay, and let's see how he managed to make that happen. So you can see here, coming all the way up to turn 1. He actually pulled over to let some of the faster cars through. So Colin Warwick went through, and that's a little bit of an unusual one, that one.
Not handy. Probably a little bit of a flat spot on those tyres, I think. So not exactly ideal for NZ Snipes. It is quite bumpy into turn 4. We do see cars struggling to get into that corner every lap of the race almost, but especially on the end of a tyre run.
Right, here's our first look at the other PBF livery that we're talking about, the Brendan Ross car. You can see there it's got the red highlights around it. The Brett Foley car has the teal blue highlights, so that's your differences between the two. So very, very subtle differences for some of these liveries. And a number of drivers sporting, some wing mirrors that are a little bit different compared to everybody else as well. So picking up who actually has the right car on track at the right time is going to be the difficult bit. But the man who gets the honour of trying to set the first fast lap was the man who topped the timesheets in practice, Colin Warwick, aboard car 53.
It's quite difficult to come right out first lap and set an absolute heater of a lap. This will be going down to the wire. There's 8 minutes to go in the session, and we'll probably start seeing the real heaters come in about 2 minutes to go in the session. That's when everyone will throw everything they've got at it. They'll throw tyres at it. They'll throw a couple of changes at it and have another blast around the Adelaide street circuit. Very fast circuit, I think, for a street circuit, in my opinion. But, he grazes the wall there. That's actually more than a graze. That was more like a whack. So probably tweaked his neck a little bit there, Colin Warwick. But he's doing a good job so far. We'll see what the time is like to the second sector split, 52.8. So probably can go a little bit quicker still. Bit of a ragged edge for Warwick on this lap in the Canteen 3 ZB Commodore.
Yeah, I believe that sponsorship is in with regards to some family dramas. I think his mother, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, going through some sort of a battle at the moment, and it's a fine tribute, and actually sets a very nice lap. 17.2, which is on the pace. This is the sort of pace we saw qualifying records last year, which we'll bring up in a very, very short amount of time. And is he going to press on with this lap? At this stage, it looks like he is. We look a bit further down the field. We've just seen Brendan Ross has managed to pick up a curb strike for his opening lap. And the other half of the Warwick duo is Father Steve Warwick, coming the third father and son pairing to contest an ASR championship event in the same event, which is great to see. And Father Steve goes sub 120 with a 19.8. Not a bad opening shot for Steve Warwick.
I was actually surprised with Colin Warwick's lap. It was actually a lot better than I thought. It didn't quite look that quick, but sometimes those laps tend to be one of the quicker ones. So he's he's on the pace already, actually, so he's quite close to where he was going to be, and he's in the beds.
Oh, that's Peter Savage. That's a massive whack on the exit of turn 4. Just got a little bit too greedy and went wide. Let's go and again have a look at that on the replay. Let's have a look at this from the hamburger cam on top of Pete Savage's car. So here you go. So let's move this line through turn 1. Almost millimetre perfect through turn 1, 2 and 3. But this is where it all went wrong for Pete Savage. He went past the braking board just a little bit, carried a bit too much speed. He needed to be a bit close to the wall there, so he was already wide. And whack, a Rooney, and that's all she wrote.
It's almost more difficult in this game in Automobilista than in real life to take a lot more than you can chew there, because what you're able to do in real life, it's actually a rubber belt. So you do tend to slap it. Oh, there's Higginson. He's off the road as well.
Yep.
Or rather, he's spun around. He's exited quite quickly. So good job there. But Peter, he's in third at the moment. 1:17.886 in the number 58 JB Hi-Fi's Holden Commodore. A big story with this being one of the key pieces of the puzzle in the silly season.
Yeah, big massive piece in the silly season. So jumping from loose sim sport to CRE race engineering. And a little bit of topic to discuss here. Oh, that's Dane Liccardo behind him as well. He's had a big pirouette, whack that turn 8 wall. He won't be the first. He certainly will not be the last to do that tonight. So he has set a time, but it's a 1:19.2. So he's not done a bad time either. But that will dent his confidence and won't give him much time left to bank another lap. So some of these drivers are going to be very careful about how they go about setting their lap time. Same thing here, like people like Lime Mitch. He's boxed in here behind one of the Kiwi cars. That's car number 7, which I actually believe is Cheese, who's jumped into that car for wildcarding for this evening. A couple of wildcards jumping in with a few drivers not being able to make it. That's one big difference this year as well, that anybody stepping up that wants to wildcard actually has to have competed in Super 2. So Super 2s are available for substitutes, and they're the only ones that are allowed to jump in as a wildcard as well. So got to be in it and got to be performing well to get noticed. And the other man that has wildcarded this week is Noah Turra, and he's in the ASR Guest Mustang. So an extra Nissan out there making 3, and an extra Mustang out there bringing the numbers up to 9.
How many Commodores are there, by the way?
Well, it's front-loaded by Commodore. So if we do the math on the 26-car grid, it was 2 Nissans, 8 Mustangs, and you can work out the balance is Holdens.
Too many Commodores.
Too many.
Yep.
Let's go with that. Too many.
More than what they sold off the showroom floors, quite clearly. But we don't have a problem with that. It's a silhouette series. It's good fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, Mitch, look at that. He takes a whole lot of curb through the centre chicane, and he was absolutely out of control there. Let's see if it actually gives him a split time. I don't think he is. He's going on with the lap, but I actually reckon he's got a track cut there. So
it'll come up here if he does or not. And the answer is yes.
It does. So that unconventional line, when I say unconventional line, I mean taking too much that you can chew, biting off more than you can chew, as it were. But Live Mitchie's managed to make that work for him. He's 1.5 tenths up on his personal best of the first sector.
And not only that, that last lap that he did too was his best lap, and he was caught in traffic. So he's found a tenth and a little bit without the traffic. And the next time split will come up just on the exit here of the turn 9 hairpin. And what does it look like? About the same as what it was at the sector 1 split. So he's only lost a couple of thousandths of a second in all of that. And at this stage, is that going to move him up the order? I don't believe that it is. So he is currently sitting in 10th, and the gap to next is about 4.5 tenths away. So he needs to find a little bit more, but he did lose a lot of time in that middle sector relative to everyone else that's been there before him. And he actually lost a bit more in that one too, so he didn't improve by very much. So he's going to press on.
Oh, that's definitely a track cut there. He went all 4 wheels over the white line, and time will tell when we get down to the first sector split. But having a look on screen right now, Tim Redmond, one of the Kiwis, number 43 Kiwi Sim Sports ZB Commodore, and plenty of Kiwi representation on the field tonight. And he's just about to end his out lap to begin his, I believe it's his 7th flying lap of the qualifying session. So he's going to have, or 7 in total rather. So let's see how he goes through the centre chicane. Oh, a lot of curb through there. And that is as far as you want to go without getting a track cut, I can be sure. Oh, having a bit of trouble getting it stopped. Oh, he turned it in on the white line. It just slid out from under him. Those painted curbs are a bit like ice.
Yeah, certainly are, and he's really giving it what for here. And he's up in position 6, so this is probably a surprise. I think we can call. He's been putting in a lot of laps. Gave the wall a bit of a rub there as well. I don't think he was expecting to, be out that far. There you go. He goes past his teammate Scott Stancliffe on the run down to turn 8, and through turn 8 he goes. Let's see if we can get a bit of a one of our patented picture-in-picture moments here. I think we can see as well. Let's see him working hard away at the wheel. There he is, on the bottom right-hand corner of his screen there. Negotiates the run.
He's gained a lot of time in the second sector. Oh, he's sliding and he's in the fence. He's gone.
And that's
that
the end
lap
of that.
Is ruined. And
and not only that, he needs to reverse and get out of the way. And he's done a really good job there.
He nearly got cleaned up by Cam Rutledge. So that cruels his run. That's it. 6th is as best as Tim Redmond will go. But let's have a look at that on the replay. It was a good run, and he was absolutely pushing the envelope there. And unfortunately, all came unstuck on the almost like a short shoot into just after turn 9. So turn 10, that's where he came unstuck. And it just fell out from under him. And he managed to get out of the way in the nick of time before Cam Rutledge and his teammate Scott Stancliffe arrived on the scene.
Now, clock has gone 0, so there's only a handful of laps left to be completed. Does Rosella improve? He does. He found nearly 6.5 tenths. So the track rubbering in nicely moves him up the order to position 4. So that's sharing a row with Peter Savage as it stands at the moment. Who else is out there? Kurt Stenberg is the next man we want to look to. The defending series champion, position 5. At the moment, we're under lap record pace as well. Will Devonish is currently at the top with a 17 flat, so that's a new track record for qualifying.
Oh, Stenberg's up.
And Stenberg is up. So this is now the next frontier that we need to look at here. Can he find any more in this last sector of a lap? 2 tenths is not going to be enough to advance him another position. Luke Rosella is about 4 and a bit tenths clear, and he's given up the ghost. And he's coultharded it. He's David Coultharded it into the pit lane.
He's either David Coultharded it or he's Russell Ingold it in 2003. So many a time has a car ended up in that fence, quite interestingly.
And the only other cars left on laps, I think, is Colin Warwick. So he's got one more bite at the cherry here, but I think he'll be giving up the ghost pretty quickly as well. Actually, no, he's not. So he has...
Still going on with it. 1 corner to go. Does he get a good run through here? Straighten up the corner, Colin. Come on. No. And he's not straightened it up as much as I would have thought, but... He is just a hair's away from his personal best, 0.07 of a second behind, but 0.277 of a second behind from Will Devonish. And I'm surprised Will Devonish has topped the charts. A very good lap.
And there he is.
1:17.079. Very, very good.
And there he is. You can just see the front white and red corner of the car poking out the front there for his ZB Commodore. And a 17.079 under the lap record pace. So when we go to our graphic in just a few moments' time, you'll actually see that that track record has been obliterated to a burden. In actual fact, let's go and have a look at the Adelaide Street Circuit, because here we go. Thanks to Google Earth for the use of new Google Earth Studio. We get to have a bit of a look at the land down under. And as we zoom in on the city of Adelaide in South Australia, you go to the southeast corner, the Adelaide Parklands, and the traditional home of Supercars for many, many years is still the traditional home of ASR Supercars' opening round each and every year for the last 3 seasons, and now we make it 4. You can see there, last year's qualifying record, a 1:17.293, completely gone. It's now 1:17.079 to Will Devonish.
You need a car here that rides the curves well and also gets the traction down out of the traction zones, which you see out of the 90-degree corners especially, and out of turn number 7 when you're heading onto Adelaide Straight and then Brabham Straight. It's very important, and also good brakes as well. So you need a good all-round race car here, but this being a tight and twisty street circuit does provide good racing, surprisingly, and it does provide a great spectacle every year when we come here.
Yeah, it certainly does. We've been fortunate, as I said before, we always like to call it the traditional home. Everybody seems to like the circuit. There's a few people like myself that find it a little bit hard to drive, and I guess that's just part of the way you go about flow around race circuits and what have you. But a lot of the drivers, especially some of the couple of them being Adelaide natives, Luke Rosella, who's up there in position 4, he loves this place. He's looking to go really, really well this year. And, well, I guess we can say it right now. Supercars, I think you probably made a bad decision in getting rid of the Adelaide 500. Not fighting hard enough to keep it. I know it wasn't a Supercars initiative. It was a South Australian government initiative to get rid of it. But for a lot of fans out there, this is the one place that for so many years has just been known as, well, they used to call it Clipsal, didn't they? And then it changed to Superloop. And for, I don't know why it is what it is. The government, the opposition still think they're going to bring it back. But I, for one, would love to see it back in real life. But guess what? 4 years in a row, opening round in ASR, can't complain.
Well, it's more important that we've got it on ASR right now. So, but Clipsal must be having an absolute boonie with the fact that they are still getting sponsorship value out of that race, even though they haven't paid the sponsorship fee for a number of years now. I don't even know how many years it's been Superloop, but dead set. Clipsal, everyone still refers to it as Clipsal, and I'm sure when everyone thinks of light switches and power switches, I'm sure they think Clipsal as well. Yeah, you're not wrong. Clipsal being a very, very well-known brand. I think even in this household here, there's plenty of Clipsal things on walls and all that sort of stuff with the branding. It's just they've built a huge, successful empire of the guys at Clipsal on everything they do. Now, one thing we mentioned just a few moments ago in the qualifying session was there's a little bit of change that's gone on in the Supercars field over the course of the last couple of months, over the last 100 days since we last went racing at the Bahrain International Circuit in Sakir in December 2020. And, well, he was actually going to do this one and get me a little video. We could cut it up for the live stream, but he's actually going to try and do this one live, ladies and gentlemen. So here is Hans Brunswick with his take on the Supercars field for 2021. The ASR Supercars 2021 driving group encompasses a mixture of returning veterans, newcomers, and drivers making the step up from the Super 2 feeder series. It's no surprise that the series is still primarily front-loaded by Holdens. The man they're all chasing is defending champion Kurt Stenberg, with 12 wins from 22 starts and rewriting most of the lap records in the process last year. The only changes in 2021 to the TTR ZB Commodore is the number on the door, changing from number 47 to number 1, and the target being firmly planted on his back for the other drivers to aspire to. There's no change at PBF Race Engineering from the pairing that came together at Townsville in 2020, with Brendan Ross now a permanent fixture opposite series veteran Brenton Foley, following the full-time retirement of longtime teammate Phil Boak. Benjamin Rhodes retains his seat in the PBF-supported satellite development team, with a new sponsor for 2021 in Roadie's Photos. Last year's championship runner-up Will Devonish remains with the CRE Race Engineering squad. He had a revolving door of teammates in the sister car in 2020, but his teammate this year should be a more permanent fixture. In what is the most notable defection in the off-season, Peter Savage has turned down a drive in a loose SimSport Ford for the vacant CRE Commodore. In recent weeks, the rumour mill has been in overdrive with talk of irreconcilable differences, but Savage has remained relatively tight-lipped on the subject, preferring to let his driving do the talking. The pairing of Turmo and Cam Rutledge in the sister CRE Motorsport team is the same as last year. Both found major improvements over their 2019 campaigns, and they will be targeting their next step over last year's pace in 2021. Last year's shock third-place pairing in the Bathurst 500 of Zach Ross and John McDonald proved to be enough of an incentive for them to team up for the Supercars Championship in 2021. Still proudly flying the flag for Holden, although having to upgrade last year's VF Commodore to ZB specification and acquire a second chassis to complete the two-car team. Shoeies will be in order should either one of them manage to snag a podium finish in the 2021 campaign. Father and son combination, Steve and Colin Warwick, become the third father and son pairing to contest a series in Australian sim racing. Blackshaw Smash Repairs supplies the backing for a pair of ZB Holdens for a pair of well-experienced drivers looking to better the results set before them by Wayne and Liam Spencer and Greg and Noah Turra. Dane Liccardo's seat was in doubt after an ugly exit from All-Australian races in recent weeks, managing to scrape together the budget for a privateer ZB Commodore with big mate backing. While their liveries may look similar, like-minded privateer Nathan Higginson brings Autodesk with him this season, signalling two separate privateer teams for these good two mates that only completed a handful of rounds in 2020. The last of the Holden teams is fronted by a talented all-New Zealand lineup of Tim Redmond and Scott Stancliffe. The Kiwi SimSports duo, teamed up for last year's Bathurst 500, suffered heartbreak with engine failure whilst in a strong position. They make the transition from Super 2 into the main game, bringing plenty of flair and plenty of speed into a packed midfield. The Seoul Nissan team in 2021 is also supported by Kiwi SimSports and it also filled with Kiwi talent. NZ Snipes in car number 420 also steps up from Super 2, while Peter Thrower will contest as many rounds as possible. In rounds where he's unable to make it, expect to see some other up-and-coming Kiwi talent wildcarding in car 56. The all-new Ford Mustang sees 5 teams and 8 drivers selecting a new weapon of choice for 2021. Homologation teams Loose SimSport and All-Australian Racers both field 2 cars for their pair of drivers. LSS has constructed a new chassis for Steve Burko, with Lewis Wedding piloting last year's FGX Falcon upgraded to Mustang specification. AAR sees a major change from 2020, having sported an FGX for Dane Liccardo and the recently retired Volvo S60 for Luke Rosella. Upcoming talent in Orjit Mishra and Mitch McGovern fill the 2 seats on offer. AAR provides technical support to one of the Mustang privateers in Lockie Burke, which has scaled down from 2 cars to 1 in recent weeks as the other party involved in the Dane Liccardo and AAR split. Much in the same way as AAR, Hype SimSport is fostering young and up-and-coming talent in the main series. The other privateer this season is Team Harvey Norman's Ben Hall in car number 19. Last year's late entry into the Supercars series sees the former ZB Commodore moved on in favour of a spare Super 2 FGX chassis, making the switch to Mustang bodywork in time for the season opener. The final Mustang team sees the ever-expanding ego of AAR team principal Luke Rosella take up a coveted seat at Synergy Sim Racing, alongside longtime driver Scott Nolan. The deal was only sealed in recent weeks and sees Luke Rosella take on other driving duties across other codes this year, including V8 Scops and ASC. With a 26-car field set, it's time to get down to business in 2021.
Oh, he deserves a drink after that, and he's having one right now. That was absolutely fantastic. A 5.5-minute bit of montage there, just about all the Kiwi teams and the Australian teams and all the drivers partaking in the ASR Supercars Championship. Proudly brought to you, of course, by Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions. So a big supporter of small business. We have been for a long time, and you can see there Smith & Sons, Matt Harvey Repair and Tune, and the logos for Cam Rutledge Electrical all around the track. 3 very, very passionate sim racers, 3 very, very passionate small business owners that have given a lot of time and a lot of help to the community over the last 3 and a bit years and continuing into year 4.
Yeah, they've been great supporters here at ASR and a number of other series as well, in terms of Smith & Sons. We've seen them involved in the OSR Bathurst 12 era as well. So that was a great event that they put on with the help of Smith & Sons backing. But no, it's great to see many small businesses coming on board to support us. And like we said, we support those who support us.
Yeah, you're certainly right. And there's actually a number of Kiwi businesses that jumped on as well. The recent Bathurst 500 last year, Peter Thrower putting up Beyond Electrical as well, and giving a little bit of a donation to the group. And it's very important to note as well, guys, that the money that comes into ASR for everything is a donation. It's basically there so we can continue to run events, cover the costs of things such as our live timing and live races, which is a subscription-based service. It basically goes into to breaking even. And the one big thing I wanted to point out there is the all-new Mustang for 2021. There's been a lot of work go into that model. It's probably the most accurate model outside of iRacing that anybody's actually got in sim racing. And from a personal standpoint, I'd like to send a big thanks to Lewis Wedding and to Nathan Higginson, who did a lot of work, not only buying the model, which is north of $300, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big expense. But for Nathan Higginson for doing a lot of work to get all the bits and pieces that were missing, get it all into game. Brendan Ross for painting a handful of liveries as well and doing a whole bunch of testing. There's a number of guys that there's a very long list of people we need to thank for bringing that into ASR. And on top of that, guys, the $5 entry fee that everybody paid for the donation towards the Mustang, you can already tell there, 26 guys times $5, it doesn't even cover the cost of the Mustang itself. So it's very good to see that we put some stuff out there for everybody, and it's good to see that everybody receives it well. And we're just looking to minimise the outlay that everybody has to go through to keep things sim racing and keep it all going and keep it interesting for people and keep people coming back, because that's what we're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. We are first and foremost a community where we enjoy racing each other and we enjoy the whole antics, you could say, of racing for pretend. But it's really good actually, because we've got a really supportive group and we've got a bunch of people also who are very passionate about getting the models into the game, and they do a heap of work. And it's probably a little bit unsung in a way, because look at all the banners in the pit lane and all that, and look at all the windows on the cars. Lewis Wedding has done a phenomenal job. And also, not just Lewis, but Nathan Higginson, and there's probably a few others in there that I'm forgetting, but they have all done such a fantastic job to get this Mustang rolled out and onto the grid for the round one of the ASR Supercars season this year.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And one of the other people that needs a huge pat on the back is a man by the name of Daniel Cox. He's painted at least 4 or 5 cars in this field, and I'm actually looking to cycle up to see if I can find one of them at the moment, which I haven't been able to locate. There's a few cars up and down the field that he's had a hand in. He's also had a hand in some of the new Outworld broadcasting signage that's around the track as well. He actually designed that logo for me last year, and we've started using that this year. So big hats off and big thank you from myself to Daniel Cox. Again, one of the whole community aspect of things that we do, everybody supporting each other, being respectful about each other, and fostering some really good, clean, and super interesting sim racing.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't just do this. I mean, we can't just replicate this and be totally competitive about it. We actually have to make it entertaining as well. And although we do try and make it as realistic as possible on the track, we're not so realistic in terms of, okay, let's go and hide away all our data from everyone. Everyone's really helpful. And honestly, it's such a pleasure to race with these guys. And I got offered a drive to drive this tonight, and I'm like, why didn't I take it? But then I realised I like commentating more, so we like it. But I'll be around in Super 2, and actually, but for the errors in Super 2, we would have seen a bit of a mixed-up grid, especially with some of the Kiwis moving up, and we might see some more wildcards coming along, and they might have some more talent to be developed yet.
Yeah, you're not wrong. There's a few guys waiting in the wings. And then we saw before just on screen the 2 Nissans, NZ Snipes and Peter Thrower. Car 56, the way that they've described Car 56 to me this year, is it's going to be very similar to what happened with Matt Stone Racing last year, where you had a couple of different drivers jump into that seat over the course of the year. So Peter Thrower's going to make most of the rounds. There's a few guys down the field. I think Cheese has been given a wild card tonight. He's in a 3rd Nissan. He's got some availability to race, so he'll be jumping into that car maybe in one round. Freakish and Braxton Stancliffe, young Braxton Stancliffe. He's only 13 years old, and he's going to jump into a main game series at some point this year. So, talk about fostering young talent. I think he's probably got a record at the moment for the youngest driver in ASR, or Australasian sim racing as we call it.
I don't think that record will be beaten anytime soon as
I don't
well.
think
He's
so
quite mature for a 13-year-old, but that's not saying much. No, he's quite good. And also, in terms of being on the same track as his father, I mean, maybe there's not really team orders being a satellite team, but I think there may be team orders involved. And as long as son knows to get out of the way of father, that should be all right. Not to mention, could be the 4th father-son pairing to race in ASR competition, so that's going to be interesting to see as well.
Well, definitely. Actually, you're probably right, it is, because they did share a grid in the feeder series in Super 2, but when we talk about our main game series where pairings have been shared, we talk mainly about Supercars, GT3, so you never know. We might actually see they might become the 4th father and son pairing to run in the main game. So that's the thing I love about it, father and sons. You know, I'm unfortunate. I've got 2 daughters, and one of them likes running in my playing in my sim rig, but the other one's a bit young at the moment. She's only 4 months old, so I don't quite know what to do just yet. I'm worried that I might have to buy a go-kart at some point.
I guess you do. The Tanders did it, didn't they? They
did.
They got their young girl into sim racing, so that's all right. So I guess the whole thing is be a racing family, and I'm sure the family will get into racing at some point. But I'm sure it gets tiring if you have to end up going to Bathurst every year as your family holiday, especially if you're Jim and Stephen Richards, long-suffering wives, Faye and Angela Richards. They would be. So having a look on screen, just in the practice session now, Lewis Wedding in car number 777. And great looking livery this, actually.
Yeah, we're just going to go back to some live pictures now. We're just waiting.
We're getting there eventually.
It says race 1 at the top there in your top left. We're just in a warm-up session at the minute. So we tend usually not to broadcast the warm-up sessions, but there's been a little bit of a delay. Looks like a couple of drivers just had a few issues that just need to be sorted out, and waiting to see the grid being set. So warm-up is finishing. Maybe the driver's briefing just went a little bit longer than expected. I'd maybe get the impression that's probably what happened. As Lewis Wedding promptly dives off the screen and back to the pit. So maybe he's just checking a couple of things. Maybe Steve Burko's possibly doing the same. But I fully expect in the next couple of minutes we might actually be going to some on-track action of a different kind, 32 laps in store. So let's talk about 32 laps. So it's a 100 kilometre distance, 3.2 kilometre circuit. Tyres and fuel definitely going to be required at some point. The times two fuel and tyre combination forces that hand. Last year the sprint race format was only 90 kilometres. So this year being 100, the aim of the game is to increase the strategy options available, tease some people to see if they can reach the half distance mark, and if they can reach the half distance mark and they can stop and they can get home from there, you're in pretty good shape, but you're going to have some pretty worn rubber getting toward the back end of that race. So you're going to have to tune the car very, very expertly across the run to make it workable for you at the back end of the race, because some of these guys are probably going to blaze along at a 2-stop strategy and they might come home with a wet sail and a full head of steam.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in that sense, we should be conscious of the fact that it's not perfect. You have, if you want to go, you have to do a long stint, and then you'll have to do a short stint, I'm sure. So the risk is if you do the short stint first and try and set some absolute heaters and just blaze on as fast as you can go, 110%, the problem then is that you have to make your tyres last for the second half of the race. And if you get the track position in the early part of the race, but you lose track position due to a safety car or something, some sort of calamity or misfortune that happens, then you are under attack and you have to defend like anything for pretty much half the race. So I would hazard a guess that most people are going to try and long stint the first part, but then they're going to come in towards the end of the race. So they're just going to go over halfway and make these tyre sets suffer and really get the fuel economy on, and then start blazing on from halfway onwards. Yeah,
and a few guys were starting to do a few runs late yesterday evening. They were starting to see what their fuel and tyre burn. Some guys were only able to get sort of 11 or 12 laps to a tank. So that was a bit of a concern. Some guys were sort of worried about where their tyres were going to be at and getting 11 or 12 laps on tyres. So a few of them have gone and trying a combination of the hard and the soft tyre to see what works for them. So there will be a lot of strategy calls that we have to look at and try and see how all this is going to work. And see here, we're just looking at a few drivers just yet to sort of make their way onto the grid. Here is your defending champion. He is waiting to go to the grid, and he's there on row number 2 with Luke Rosella. So maybe there's been a penalty handed out here, because I could have sworn that Stenberg was position number 5. Maybe there's been a couple of issues that need to be either solved, or there's been someone that's been slapped with a penalty, but we're waiting to see what happens here. Not much longer for everybody to jump back to pits, make sure they've got all their settings and all their fuel allocated. And I'm just looking down here wondering maybe there might be a few drivers yet to jump out to the racetrack, so maybe there are a couple of little issues going on, because I'm looking over there and I can still see that Will Devenish is stuck in the lane, and there's Rhodey as well, so he's caught over on the opposite side of the pit lane, pit lane wall there. And who else is there sitting in the lane? There's at least 4 or 5 cars. Termo, Cam Rutledge, Rhodey, Brett Foley, Will Devenish. There's 5 cars that have not made it to the track, so I'm going to go probably out on a limb here and say we've probably got another delay. We might just, and looks like we have, so we might just jump back to let the guys try and figure that one out. So unfortunately, with an aging Automobilista platform, this is what happens sometimes.
You do push it to a limit, and unfortunately there's the straw that breaks the camel's back, as it were. So 4 gigabytes RAM, not a lot to work with, and we do sometimes get a vehicle tow error, which ends up, it locks you out of the game. It doesn't let you enter the track. So unfortunately that may have happened to 4 or 5 of our drivers there, but hopefully we'll be able to make it work for just this one race, please.
Yes, just for the first race. We're looking to keep it running to time here. Well, actually on the topic of time, there's it's been a bit of a sad time for motor racing in general. There's been a fair bit of sadness in recent weeks, and especially this week with the news of these 2 individuals that have contributed so much to racing over the course of many, many years. And the first one of those is a personal favourite of mine, Murray Walker. Got his autobiography on the shelf, which is a fantastic read, and he lost his life earlier this week after great innings, 97. And one of the men that I've never seen so much passion for what he does over the years and years and years that he spent calling Formula One. And the other one is one of the most prolific pioneers of motorsport for women in the last 20 odd years of Sabine Schmidt. So the Queen of the Ring, as she was affectionately known, and both of them going to be very, very sorely missed, who lost a battle with cancer earlier this week. And on top of that, there's another little thing we need to speak about as well. There's plenty of people in the motor racing community that have going through some hard times as well. One of those is John Bowe, who's going through his own battle with that rotten disease at the moment. So it's a tough time for motorsport, and then the sad thing is they always say bad things happen in threes. So I would hate to think who would possibly be next, but we don't wish anything of that nature whatsoever.
No, not at all, and it's very sad to see, or to hear rather, of Murray's and Sabine's passing. And Murray Walker himself, a very big supporter of motorsport in Adelaide and in Australia, and also the raising of the Adelaide 500 as the traditional opener to V8 Supercars and what we now know as Supercars. And he really got behind the event, and he really used his stature to raise that profile, and he did a very, very good job of it. And we thank them for all they've done for motorsport. And John Bowe as well, he needs no introduction. He is not only a very, very good race car driver, he is a fantastic bloke to boot as well. So good luck, John. We wish you all the best in your battle ahead.
Well, looks like we are getting very, very close. Hopefully the grid looks like it's going to be set in order. I did see there was one person who was out of position, and that looks like it's been corrected with, I was right, Colin Warwick was 1 position further higher than what he should have been. So that's why we saw a second row forming there of Luke Rosella and Kurt Stenberg. And just a couple of drivers waiting to go to the grid. There you go. There's your front row. Pair of Holdens, cars 15 and 53. Devenish and Colin Warwick. And as soon as we get everybody to track and the formation lap begins, I'll hand over proceedings to Hans Brunswick to take you through the grid order. And looks like that formation lap is underway.
So Will Devenish with a 1:17.08, I believe it was. So very, very good lap time there. He actually managed to pip Colin Warwick in the end. So very, very handy lap time there. He was able to get it done. Colin Warwick in second. He's done a very good job as well to get into the front row of the grid, and we'll definitely be seeing more of this car brought to you by Canteen 3 and Blackshaws. Pete Savage in his first outing for CRE Race Engineering, new number this year I believe, number 58. So he is going to give it a red hot shake at the top in the yellow JB Hi-Fi's mobile. Luke Rosella in fourth place. He ended up pipping Kurt Stenberg by the smallest of margins. Kurt Stenberg, unfortunately, his final lap didn't go to plan. And he does say that having the number 1 does give him a bit of bad luck. So hopefully not this time around. Hopefully he's able to give it a good shake at the top. Tim Redmond, a bit of a surprise packet up in 6th, who we knew was going to go good, but perhaps not this good, but it just shows the level of the bloke and how he is able to just get the most out of the car, and as he was able to do in the Summer Series and in Super 2. Turmo in 7th, a solid top 10 starting position for him. It wasn't looking that good in the practice session, but he was just mostly doing race runs as it seems. Scott Nolan in car number 18, typically runs his number 18 for SSR. Good to see him back in the series. Scott Stancliffe on the final row of the top 10 in row number 5, alongside Steve Burko, final car in the top 10. Lime Mitch in car number 13, typical Lime number 13, but also that he got rid of that ridiculous skin that we saw last year. NZ Snipes in the Kiwi Sports development team in car number 420. Lewis Simsport, not accustomed to seeing him down the order here, but that livery is a great looking livery. Gary Finemore base livery. It's an XB Falcon racing Vic V8s. Lockie Burke in the Hype Simsport AAR development team. Noah Turra in the guest car, and it's a great looking guest car as well. That was painted by Lewis and Nathan Higginson, I believe, so they did a very good job. The father in the combination of Steve and Colin Warwick. Steve Warwick in the Blackshaws Smash Repairs Commodore. Dane Liccardo in the privateer Big Mate car. Peter Thrower making a handful of appearances this season, and he's definitely a smoky for the Super 2 Championship, I'm sure. Cam Rutledge in 19th. Cheese in the guest car in 20th. Rhodey in 21st with a new sponsor on board. Nathan Higginson in the HMA Team Autodesk car. Ben Hall in the privateer Harvey Norman mobile. And PBF bringing up the rear of the grid, which we're not accustomed to seeing in both the Red Bull cars.
Well, here we go, and away we go. It was very quick form up, and Rhodey jumped the start. He got a drive-through penalty, so that's not good news for him. And the pole sitter's been swamped. Luke Rosella trying to go around the outside there. Kurt Stenberg buried in the field, but Colin Warwick had the whole shot. Got a fantastic launch from the front row, and he has gone and bowled them wide, or he's left them for dead rather. Will Devonish in P2, right behind him. Pete Savage hasn't had too bad a start. He's boxing on with Luke Rosella. Stenberg still caught in the mid-pack a bit further behind. We look a bit further down the order. Here he is, position number 5, as he's tucked in there behind the 55 of Rosella. It's like a rolling roadblock in front of him. He doesn't know where to go, but now it's like the Red Sea. Look, it just parted.
The Red Sea's just parted. He's going to get a heater of a run here. Maybe not, because it's just the Red Sea's just closed up again. But gee, I think Will Devonish needs to work on his starts, because it's absolutely been poor. So look how much, he's about 4 car lengths back behind already. Luke Rosella blocking already, going down the inside, defensive move. And is that Tim Redmond going out the outside? He's actually done it. So move Stenberg back down to 6th.
Well
so
done.
That's an unbelievable move.
Well done by Tim Redmond. Very, very early on in the piece. Cold tyres, cold brakes. Very, very brave move around the outside at turn number 9. And I think he might be a dark horse for some of this. And there's a late move for Redmond down the inside. And he got the job done. He's gone side by side with Rosella. And that was a very late lunge, but it was very fair, very clean. But he's going to be on the wrong side here by the time they get to 1.
And he just backed out of that one. So he knew when to hold him and when to fold him. And, they're taking heaps of curve through there. I wouldn't be surprised if they got, even hitting the fence on the exit of turn 4. That's unbelievable. On the exit of turn 3.
And Rosella's now been shuffled back to position number 6, or is it 7 actually? Is it here? No, it's actually, that's Scott Nolan. What am I saying? I'm looking at the cars. I'm still trying to work out which mirrors are who and what colour schemes are who.
He's around!
Tag! Now, that was a little bit interesting there. A little bit of side-by-side contact. We might see if we can go and pick that one up on the Smith & Sons replay, and let's see if we can have a look at how all that unfolded. Let's see if we can get a bit more of an interesting angle when we cycle through to the rear cameras. Here we go, out the back end of the number 43.
Now Stenberg tries to jink left, and he just catches the rear bar, or the rear quarter of Redmond. There you go. So
yeah, a little bit interesting.
Yeah, that was a bit, you don't know with that sort of contact sometimes, because it might actually just end up stabilising the car, but sometimes it just fires it around like that. So you can see it was even continuing out of turn 7. Lockie Burke getting sideways, but yeah, very interesting to start this race. Tim Redmond hasn't lost too much though. He's behind his teammate, so hopefully Scotty Stancliffe makes it a little bit easier for him.
Yeah, he's lost about 4 spots out of that, and what Colin Warwick has lost despite getting a ripper start off the front row of the grid, he's lost that advantage now that he enjoyed after the first 2 laps. So Will Devonish has posted the fastest lap of the race, which is understandable, on lap 2 at a 1:18.648, early days. But as the pressures and the temperatures all start to normalise and you start to get a feel for what's underneath you, here is the battle for the lead on screen exiting turn 7.
So Colin's car, for whatever reason, just isn't strong in the early part of the race, but it just shows how important it is to get a good start, because you can leapfrog someone and get into that prime position for TV viewing as well. So he's going a little bit defensive here, so he's just making it a little bit too hard for Will to pass him. But that's okay, just moving 2 feet in the braking area, just that critical moment.
A couple of early DNFs look like they're coming through as well. So one of them, wildcard Noah Tara, he's out, and it looks like Steve Warwick's had a bit of an unfortunate incident somewhere on lap 1 unsighted. So a couple of early withdrawals from this race, and there's another battle that's sort of starting to unfold behind these two, which is the Luke Rosella and Pete Savage battle, starting to get rather interesting. And speaking of getting interesting, a little bit of a draft assistance up the front straight, not a huge amount. That we go on board in just a few moments. We might be able to get a bit of a visual here as to what's going on with Will Devonish. He's very, very close to the rear end of that car. And as we go on board, let's see him working very, very hard through the lefts and rights, up the staircase, as it's affectionately known by the locals, as they come up towards turn 7, go all the way over the curb on the exit of 6. And I've always wondered why that seems to be the line. For me, it almost looks like it unsettles the car, but somehow they managed to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just see there that Will just giving a bit of Morse code there. He says, "Colin, I'm here, hello." Oh, he hits the fence as well, so that was a pretty major hit as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he got bodywork damage. And, he's fired him around. No, he's caught it.
Well saved by Warwick. Big save. That was a big moment. Will was very, very deep under brakes there, applying the blowtorch very, very, very rapidly, because he knows he's actually got his teammate behind him now. These, looking at the lap times as well, Savage and Rosella behind them are faster. There they are, 1, 2, 3, and the 4th man just came around the last corner and back a shot. Who's that entering the
pits?
We've
got Turmo entering the pits, so he's had a shocker somewhere, and he's lost about 6 seconds on that lap alone compared to the car in front of him. So very, very slow lap there.
He's got a bit of damage or something going on there. The number 51 Ned Commodore pulls up for service, and speaking of pulling up for service,
down the inside, he's got the brakes going good down there, but he's not going to be able to make the move because the staircase. If he can just hang tough around the outside, he might be able to get up there. There's just maybe 3/4 of a car width there. Colin's giving him nothing to spare, but
Over and under.
Over and under, he's got it.
What a move by Warwick. Very, very smartly aware of what was going on there and fed it nicely down the gap and committed very, very well to 7. Now, this is the difficult part. Commitment point to 8 is the 150 board. Now, Will's on the outside here, and he'll just have to cede position here and just fall in behind. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, and a 4th one rub the fence. And watching brief behind is Kurt Stenberg. So this is going to get more Morse code at turn 9.
Pretty brave, because now it's opened up the battle to the next 2 cars. It's 3rd and 4th, Pete Savage and Luke Rosella. And I don't think Rosella would have been too happy about that move put on him by both Savage and Redmond, because they were very late moves indeed. I think he was turning into the corner when he realised, but they were very forceful moves to get them up there early in the race. Oh, a bit of nose-to-tail contact there, and very lucky for Pete Savage not to go around.
Let's have a bit of a look at what it looks like from Luke Rosella's point of view. Well, it's a bit of a wall at the moment. Let's just put it that way. It's a wall of Commodores in front of him. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then and the 4th one's actually behind him. So he's caught in a bit of a sandwich here, and he's just got to be ultra careful about what he does relative to what's going on ahead. It looks like there's another move here. So Devon is trying the same thing again.
Oh, Luke Rosella down the inside. Does he get there? Oh, that was millimetres to spare there, and it's going to cruel their run because Kurt Stenberg is ranging up on the back of them. Yeah. And it's looking like he can play the Jaws theme right now, because he's just come right up onto the top 4 cars.
He's like the great white shark at the moment, isn't he? He's just got the fin up, and if I was Stenberg, I would just be sitting back here and just trying to keep tabs on what goes on. I'd actually be going into a fuel conservation mode if I was him. 3 out of the 5 cars in that train whacked the wall. Now, you're looking at something a bit interesting here as well. You're looking at a car that's missing a bonnet. I'm wondering if that's happened a little bit earlier in the piece than it actually states that it is. But yeah, you've got Brendan Ross in pits at the moment for damage repair. He's down the order now as well. Now, this battle's so interesting. I don't want to go up and down the field and have a look at some other battles.
Devonish, he's on the outside. Does he yield? Oh,
he's opened the gap
Savage
up for his
is going to have a
teammate,
move. He's going to have a dip, and he's there. So does Luke Rosella go with him as well? So Devonish potentially going to lose 2 spots here. No, Luke Rosella out of it. And he gets out of it early, so he's able to make the corner. Geez, these cars, there's 4 Holdens and 1 Mustang in the top 5. Oh, Colin Warwick hits the fence.
Ultra committed through turn 3, and I think it's now a case for Will Devonish saying, well, I've had a couple of goes, Peter. You're the new boy in the team. Well, you show me what you can do. And very, very strong position for CRE Race Engineering, positions 2 and 3 from a team's perspective, which is quite handy to see. Of course, the very liveries look very similar in terms of the actual layout, just the sponsors on the cars are a little bit different.
Traffic lights.
Yeah, traffic lights, I guess you can call it. There's some yellow, there's some red, there's a blue, and I don't know if there's a green, actually. That's the only one that's missing to make a full traffic light set.
Oh, how many cars got the fence that time? I reckon 4 of the 5 cars got it there. Oh, Pete Savage really late on the brakes. Does he get there? No. Oh, very, very brave move there, because that gap was diminishing just very quickly at the critical moment.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Very, very quickly just vanishing right before their eyes. And this battle is so intriguing, we actually don't want to really take our eyes off it too much, but there's actually so many good little battles developing up and down the field that you don't know where to look at, as Pete Savage has another bit of a look down the inside at the final corner. And while they're sort of boxing on, here's what else is going on a bit behind the scenes. These guys are over 13th, 14th and 15th.
Oh, here you go, he's off the road, and he's in the fence.
He is in the fence, so that was coming for a little while, I feared. And he was just hung out to dry on the wrong side of the road, and that's taken him out of the battle. So it was Peter Thrower just ahead of Cheese, who's actually having a pretty solid run here, up 6 positions from the rear of the grid. That's the one of the old Andre Heimgartner liveried cars from the Kelly Racing stable. That's one of the liveries that has been painted up for some of the guest drivers that wish to participate in the series. And making 3 Nissans tonight, as we said, car number 7. He'll be jumping into car 56 at some point. Back to the lead as we go.
So Warwick's managed to open up a little bit of a gap over Savage, because 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th are boxing on right now, so he's able to skip away. And I think maybe the edge has been lost from Savage's tyres right now, so maybe not an ideal situation for him. Bit of overheating, potentially. But yeah, so Colin Warwick, he's opened up at least 5 car lengths margin. Oh, look at Pete. He just absolutely just closes that gap. Big concertina effect into the final corner. It's very impressive under brakes.
Yeah, it certainly is. He's really showing his teammate up here a little bit. He's holding his own. And
oh, Foley's just locked the brakes, rear brakes at the turn 9 hairpin.
Yeah, and he's not been having a very, very good run either. PBF Race Engineering stable, not had a good opening couple of laps to this 2021 campaign. You have had Brendan Ross with some bonnet damage. He's already been in the pit lane, and former series champion Brenton Foley, who gave up number 1 at the end of last year to Kurt Stenberg. He is languishing down in 17th place, and look who's running his hammer. So that's Cam Rutledge, and one of the men we spoke about, well, actually you spoke about in your little intro there, CRE Electrical, the electrician himself from Nowra up in New South Wales. And he is hanging on to Brenton Foley's coattails for all that it's worth at the moment.
I'm sure he probably wouldn't have thought last season that he would be catching up to Brenton Foley at this point of the season. So pretty impressive job by him. As we go to the front of the field, Pete Savage has just let Will Devonish by. Discretion being the better part of valor there. He just says, come on, you go. And I believe Stenberg's gotten past Rosella as well. So that may have happened somewhere. It's just escaped our vision.
Yep, so
the all-seeing eye of Steve.
Yeah, a little bit of things is what we have to do every now and again. Just go up and down the field and see who's having a bit of a punch on with who. And in amongst all of that, Kurt Stenberg has now made it 4 Holdens in the top 4. We did say the series is front-loaded by Holdens. And a number of these gentlemen probably not only Holden drivers in real life, but Holden fans for a long, long time. Very, very sad to see the demise of not only Holden manufacturing over the course of the last several years or so, but very, very sad to see the Holden nameplate disappearing from all the showrooms across Australia and from Supercars.
Yeah, absolutely. The lion roars no more, but here it drives on and lives on in ASR Supercars, at least for another season before we can get our hands on potentially another homologated model.
Well, that'll be the next one that we have to start really taking a look at what's going on with Gen 3. And way, that was a big slide from Luke Rosella right at the back of all of that, as well as Will Devenish now tries to go to work again on the back of this number 53 of Colin Warwick. He's not been able to find a chink in the armour just yet. Thought that he might have had it about 4 or 5 laps ago with the over and under through the staircase, but then he got his own back. And now thinking about the late lunge at the final corner and a bit of tagging again. And Will just does the right thing there, just checks up a little bit. The drivers were warned if you had no chance of making a pass cleanly and safely and fairly to let it go and have another go somewhere else along the line. And that's what Will Devenish has done there, just cleared the throttle and decided to have another go, and he's not quite far enough alongside there. So same situation again. He wasn't far enough alongside to commit. Well, not up to the B pillar on the car in front. Oh, what was that behind?
Around. We've got to look at that on replay, because maybe was there contact or did he do it on his own?
Well, we're just going to look at the back end of this, because Stenberg's going to try and go around the outside. We'll have to go and see if we can look at a Smith & Sons replay of that one. I think it's definitely worthy that we do have a look. Let's have a look at it from the perspective of Kurt Stenberg. Here he goes, up into turn 4, and it was a couple of corners after this that this all started to happen. Had Savage make a mistake. Oh yeah, he lost the rear end. Locked the rears, and Stenberg had nowhere to go. So that's fair play in that one. That's play on.
I'm sure Stenberg would have clenched a little bit there, because
he's actually through.
All his muscles would have tensed up when he saw that car go around. But luckily, no harm, no foul. Very minor damage, if any. And yeah, Pete Savage moved back down to 4th. But Will... Luke Rosella's in.
Yep, late stop for a decision for Luke Rosella to come into the pit lane.
Did he get stopped? Yes, he did. So very good move there, because he just needs to get it out from, and I think that was one of the privateer cars. That could have been Ben Hall.
Correct, it was.
Exiting the pits.
So yeah, Ben Hall in as well. So this is the first of the proper stops that we need to be concerned with here. Now, this is going to be a 2-stop strategy. I don't think Luke Rosella is going to try and make this on a single set of single pit stop change. Although it's a very quick stop, so could have eaten my words there. Maybe there's one for a shorter fill. Maybe he's looking for another cut. Look, here they all come as well.
A few other cars in as well. So there's a Kiwi Sim Sports car that Tim Redmond, Lime Mitch is in.
There's NZ Snipes running through front of shot, and I think there might be another couple on the way down the lane. So this is going to be critical where everybody sort of feeds back out. And here comes Cheese. Just got to watch for the rejoin here, and that's going to be all above board.
So I was going to remark before the pit stop started occurring that Will Devenish, he's got quite a bit of pace on board, but he just can't seem to find a way from the superior racecraft of Colin Warwick at the moment. And side by side out of the pit lane, and it might be a bit of a bust up in the steward's room. We'll see. No harm, no foul, it turned out, as it were. But
Lime Mitch would have got a track cut.
Bit of a track cut there as well. So yeah,
not paying attention, and he ran across the curbs at turn 2. And I think NZ Snipes probably did the smart thing there and just decided, you know what, I'm not going to get in trouble here. I'll just let him have it and feed back in behind. Now, this will all be scheduled stops. The one real question we have is, how's this fared for Luke Rosella? He's actually come out of the pits. In actual fact, we're looking at the wrong thing we were talking about just then. We weren't looking at what was being broadcasted over on the other side, but...
the wonders of
video, yes.
Isn't it?
Well, this is the important bit for Luke Rosella, as we've been seeing some of the other runners down the field have just decided to come in and take their service, where he feeds back in, because he's come back out, he's cleared the lap traffic in Rhodey, and what about all the other drivers that are directly ahead of him? So the ones that we're most interested in, actually they're all in the lane. So Scott Nolan's in the lane, and Kurt Stenberg in the lanes. And now where does Rosella feed into this? Is he
so Rosella's already out.
Yeah, he's gone.
And Will Devenish has just come out of the pits as well. So he is actually just in front of Rosella. And Rosella has warm tyres, so he's able to make the hay while the sun shines. Or he should be able to if he can get past.
Yeah, and here he is. So you're right, Rosella's got a full head of steam here. So he's made a net gain because he was at the back of that 5-car train. He was behind Stenberg, and Stenberg went one lap longer, and Rosella the first man to blink. Now that's put all these gentlemen on the back foot. So Devonish now under enormous pressure from the AAR Mustang. There's a drive-through penalty for Benjamin Rhodes. And just looking to see where he is. He looks like he's just come out of the pit lane. So that'll be for pit lane speeding.
So Luke is pushing right now. He did whack the wall coming out of turn 8. And it was more than a little graze. It was a pretty hefty hit. While Colin Warwick's in the pits.
Yep. There's a few drivers going long here at the moment. You can see just in front there, Steve Burko in the Lucim Sport number 7 Mustang. He's going long. So he's looking for a single stop here. The one that we're most interested in is this man, Colin Warwick. He's trundling down the lane. He's been passed. There they go. There go the leaders. Or there go the guys that were behind him on track. So a long stop for Warwick. And he comes out in currently in P5. Who's he got that? That's behind him. That's Kurt Stenberg as well. So he's come out still ahead of Stenberg.
Probably taking on more fuel, I reckon.
Maybe looking for just a tyre stop when it comes back to the second round of stops. He probably will have to stop again. I would hate to think he'd be able to get home from here. Devonish and Rosella have cleared Burko. Now that's obviously for position. Burko's times, I'm sort of getting a bit curious as to what he's actually been up to over the course of the last couple of laps or so. And here he is on screen. So lap times, his best lap times at a 1:21.1. His last lap was a 22.1. So I'm actually thinking that maybe he's gone to the hard tyre here and he's going to try and split this race down the middle. Look, it seems to have worked okay. If he's sort of ventured up the order, he started 10th. He's up to P4. And as everybody pits around him, he'll slowly sort of go back to the, bit further down the field. But there is a second race tonight. Let's keep that in mind. It's 2 100-kilometre races. So whatever you try in race 1, if it doesn't come off, you've still got another race to redeem yourself and another qualifying session to boot.
Pete Savage is in the pits, and he's going to get passed by Luke Rosella and Will Devonish. So he might potentially one-stop that one as well. I'm not sure if he's on the move yet. We'll have a look.
There he
is. Warwick and Stenberg have got past him as well, so very poor pit stop there from CRE Race Engineering number 1 team. But so let's see if he's able to live on in this race, because it's not looking that great at the moment. We're just approaching the halfway mark of the race. And Steve Burko, his old sparring partner. Different teams, but they still are on good terms. Burko and Savage. They still do a lot of practice together.
They certainly do. And Burko currently a P3, and just looking at when he transits the lane, I'm just trying to predict probably where he is going to come out.
Could be fuel saving as well, actually.
Yeah. I actually worry that he's probably going to come out into a very, very busy midfield. I don't think he's going to... He'll probably be outside the top 10. He's got a bit of traffic at the moment in Ben Hall. I'm just looking to see. He's probably going to come out somewhere around 12th, 13th, 14th place. So that's actually along with Lewis Wedding, Lime Mitch and NZ Snipes. So that's about, you can see on your screen there, it's about 26 seconds or so behind the race leader. And he's going around again. So this is supporting my theory that Burko's going to be going one stop here. And he's got what are effectively podium sitters behind him at the minute. And they've got to find a way to negotiate him, but it's for position, so he's able to fairly and squarely defend his spot on track.
I don't think he's got enough pace at the moment to defend it all, because Colin Warwick has got a full head of steam, and Stenberg, is he going to go around the outside? Is it going to be Mika Hakkinen and Michael Schumacher going around the lap car at Spa? No, not quite. But Burko needs to yield here. Oh, a bit of a serve there. Probably unexpected, bit of a bounce over the curb there. But I think Burko, he's on a completely different strategy. I think he's just able to get out of the way, and he's going to fuel save. He's going to try and one-stop it, because he has used this to great effect in the past in the Summer Series. Riding on board with Kurt Stenberg now. Getting a good view of his mate, Colin Warwick, up in front.
Yep, right curb through.
Didn't hit the fence that time, so that's always handy.
No, and on the brakes quite early as well, just to pull it up nicely for turn number 9. Bit of different line through there for Colin Warwick. He actually took a bit of curb on the inside right, and Stenberg didn't. And then on the opposite flip side of it, Colin didn't use the outside curb, but Stenberg did. So a few different driving lines. For bit of an unusual camera angle there, as Will Devonish now starts to set the fastest lap of the race. So he is currently 2 seconds clear of lead man Luke. Second place man Luke Rosella, and now we finally get Steve Burko coming in at the end of lap 16. So this will be a trial and error thing, I think, for Steve Burko. Long stop expected
Well, as long as he gets in front of the people he's racing, I don't think he should worry too much about dropping positions at this stage of the race. I think it should be all right for him.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Now, I predicted he was going to come out around 13th, 14th place, so that's where he is right now, 14th. There they all go. 15th, actually, he's lost a lot more. And there's another car coming around the back, which I think is the Dane Liccardo car. Yes, it is, in 16th place. So Burko's going to be right at pit lane exit here with Dane Liccardo, and there goes car 35.
So he's actually lost a fair bit out of this. I'm surprised. Maybe that's the higher fuel load and maybe a bit of fuel burn as well, or rather fuel conservation. And he's now ranging up on the back of Dane Liccardo.
Well, here he is, the man we speak about, the man with Big Mate backing, the very, very public spat, I think we can probably call it officially now. He was scheduled to be driving a Hype SimSport Mustang, and he very had a bit of a falling out, I think is probably the right word, with the AAR supported squad and AAR team principal Luke Rosella, and pulled up his stumps, and he's gone off and somehow managed to get himself...
drive-through penalty for Brendan Ross. Sorry, Nether, I just cut you off there.
Yep, he's somehow managed to find himself a drive in car 35. Now, he was actually very sketchy about whether or not he was going to make it tonight as well. He had some hardware dramas earlier in the week. Has managed to get them rectified, and just plodding along in position 15. He's already stopped once, and they're probably going to have to stop again.
He hasn't crashed it yet, so he's doing a good job.
No, look at the amount of curb usage he had there at the last corner.
I mean, everyone knows that I like throwing it above the curb, but maybe I'm going to be knocked off my mantle here, because this is why you find trouble with Adelaide, because you don't want to throw it over the curb. You just finesse it and drive it in the middle of the road. But I just smash it over the curb, just destroy the suspension.
Just like the guys have done
the chassis underneath it. That's absolutely the way to do it. You've got to have a big go.
Well, both of these guys having a big go at the moment as they head up through the ASR staircase under the Smith & Sons renovations and extensions sign. Great to have them on board this year as well. And big thanks to Scott Nolan, who is proprietor for Smith & Sons renovations and extensions. National group of companies doing a fantastic amount of work, and all forms of renovations, extensions to houses. Look them up on the internet there, guys, and look at some of the quality of work that they do. It is absolutely phenomenal. Some of the transformations that I've seen in recent weeks, of bathrooms being handed over, houses being handed over. Some people blow an awful amount of money on upgrading bathrooms, kitchens, doesn't matter what it is. The Smith & Sons guys have got you covered, and they do an absolutely ripper job from what I've seen from some of those before and after shots. I'd love to live in some of those houses.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. And honestly, if you're going to live in a place like that, you might as well splash out on it if you're going to live there for a while. But speaking of a while, we got a bit of news happening, because Colin Warwick has just done a 1:18.048, so he's matched Will Devenish's best time. He's actually undercut it by nearly a tenth of a second. And also Luke Rosella. I was going to say something about Luke Rosella, but now it's just gone out of my mind. So let's forget that. Scratch that.
No, scratch that. Oh,
Liccardo! He's around.
So
how good was that? He kept it out of the fence, though.
He
probably wouldn't have gassed it up into reverse, but no, good job, Dane.
Yeah, he's got plenty of track to be in clear track to be able to do that, but that was a wild moment. We'll just cut away to have a look at Colin Warwick, and we'll go and have a look at that on the Smith & Sons replay and get a full load of what happened there. So here it is through turn number 1, 2 and 3, and what did he do? Did he just get it crossed up? And, oh yeah, he was out of control, and I think...
Tank slapper.
Yeah, tank slapper, just overcorrected through the critical moment through turn 3, in much the same way we've seen a few other drivers have a few moments.
Now, if he did that a bit further up the road, he would have been like Mark Scaife and Paul Radisich in 2001 here, so that would have been pretty funny. But also, I remember where I was going with this. It wasn't about Luke Rosella. Sorry, Luke, I'm not going to add to your ego. But Pete Thrower, he's just said that he's blown the engine downshifting into turns 1 and 2, so... Sad to see Thrower out of the race, with, I think he was out about the halfway point. Yeah, he was.
Just
so
before
lap 14.
Halfway.
And, hopefully we can see him in the second race. Give it a good shake.
Well, giving it a good shake at the moment. 2 men out in front now. The gap between the top 2 at the moment has stabilised somewhat. So it was going the wrong direction. Now I think it might be just blowing out a little bit here as they negotiate some traffic. Higginson into
Higo just
the
make
lane.
The late move there.
Yep, into the lane he goes. And the gap was 2.1 seconds a couple of seconds ago, and now it's doubled. So it's now 4.3. So a bit of a tardy run through the traffic on that occasion.
Ooh, 17 for Colin Warwick. Wow.
Yeah,
what a lap.
big lap there. So that's the first of the race laps into the 17s. Lap record from last year, 17.2, I don't think is probably going to be threatened at this juncture. And I think that was Kurt Stenberg toward the back end of that 250 kilometre race, just having a bit of fun and I wouldn't say going so far as to say showing off, but going to the point of he was out in front, he had nothing to lose, so he had a dip, as he would so like to say.
You might as well, and as he would also like to say, you've got to back yourself. So he did. He got the fastest lap to boot, as well as a race victory that night, and pole position, I believe, as well. So he did the triple there.
Yeah,
but,
he did really
if
well.
Colin Warwick continues with that sort of pace, he is definitely going to catch up to Luke Rosella.
Well, this is the part that we've got to start worrying about now too, is that different guys on different strategies. Most of the top half a dozen cars on the same strategy of having to stop at least one more time. It's all about a matter of when. First man to blink was Rosella, and it proved to be a bit of a masterstroke for him because he vaulted up the order. He was the last man in that train of 5, and he now is in second place. Same thing with Will Devenish. He was pitting on the next lap, and he has managed to find his way up the order. For Colin Warwick and for Kurt Stenberg, it went the wrong direction.
Ooh, track cut potentially for Will Devenish there. He went all 4 wheels over the curb. So we'll see what it looks like when he gets down to the first timing point.
Yeah, we'll get that readout.
Just after this left-hander here.
Yep, just between turns 5 and 6. And he's been given a split, but that's sort of not truly indicative of what it is. And according to live timing, it certainly is a legitimate split. Live timing, one of the only things that hasn't actually changed its name with the community transition from what used to be Automobilista Australia over to Australasian Sim Racing. The amsoz.liveraces.com live timing domain name is still active and yet to be changed over. So if you're looking to have a look at what the lap times and the sector times and what everybody's doing and where everybody's positioned on the track, amsoz.liveraces.com. Hans, you're pointing at something here.
Oh, we all know what happens when I'm pointing at something. So Kurt Stenberg, he's set the fastest first sector split. Purple in the first sector, 21.775. And is he going to continue with it? We're just going to see him come across the second timing point. And it's green in the second sector, so maybe not ideal
traffic.
run.
This is a problem
so
for
he's
him.
just hit traffic at the critical moment. So the gap is going to... Actually, Colin Warwick's got a track cut at some point as well as Ben Hall getting a drive-through penalty. Just flashed up on screen. But Colin Warwick, he's got a track cut because you can see the time is all going everywhere. It's like live, not live time, but it's like real time, you know?
Yep. Now it's an 18.6 for Stenberg there, and as you pointed out, the lap traffic in the second and third sectors started to hamper that run. It's actually a PB in sector 2, but it was a slower time in sector 3, so that's where the damage was done. And he's now cleared that traffic. He's lost a little bit of track position now to Warwick, a bit further up the road. And the traffic is starting to become a factor here as we get to a point where pit stops for the second round of them are going to become very, very interesting. So first lot of drivers were in around a lap 11, lap 12 mark, so we extrapolate that out. We're expecting to see some probably in the next 2 to 3 laps if they're running the soft tyre and going the 2-stop strategy. First one of those, I'm just wondering, might be Will Devenish. Is he going to try and cover off Luke Rosella? Yes, he is. So race leader decides to take the bait rather early. What about the man behind him? The answer is... Oh, he thought about it.
No. He's going to lose a heap of time here. He's going to lose a good 2 seconds out of that because when he gets around to do, and especially Colin Warwick and Will Devenish, when they get around to that same part of the corner, on same part of the track, into the final corner on their outlap, they're not going to be braking there. So it's all gone.
Oh, and Warwick's to compound the situation, he's just been done for a track violation, so abuse of track limits at turn 1, 2 and 3. So there's Luke Rosella on screen, a big shot. There's Will Devenish exiting the lane into clean air. So that's actually a really, really important pit stop for him. He's gotten past the lap traffic, he's got a teammate behind him, and he has got a massive amount of clear track.
A drama upon drama here. Luke Rosella, not an ideal run. He's actually aborted the pit entry, and Colin Warwick goes one step further and says, I will get a track violation penalty into turn 1, 2 chicane.
So that's going to take him out of what was third place. That'll put Pete Savage currently on the podium as it stands, but Savage does have
Colin
to
Warwick
stop
is
again.
off the road. He's just gone on the escape road.
There he goes, down the escape road with
go.
that penalty. So that's going to compound matters even further for the Blackshaw Smash Repairs driver. So let's have a look at what happened there on the Smith & Sons replay. Let's go and have a look at the onboard from the, as I like to call it, the TV cam. Let's have a bit of a listen and see if we can pick where the incident occurred. Did he just miss the braking zone, or what happened here? I'm looking to see. Maybe a little bit too late on the brakes there, I think. But
so would have understeered at that point. So no good.
And he's given up the ghost.
So he's given up.
Yeah, he's given up the ghost after that one. So actually, it might have been, maybe it was a failure of some other nature. I'm not quite sure. We might have to do a bit more digging into that one. So a bit unexpected. Colin Warwick, good run, fantastic run up until that point, and just a couple of, as I'd like to call them, lemony snickets, I think used to call it, a series of unfortunate events.
Absolutely, absolutely, and especially we've got 2 Warwicks and both of them are out of the race. So father and son now out of the race, unfortunately. Yeah. But they did give it a good shake for a certain period of time.
And it actually looks like that's an engine failure. We're getting some work through that. That's Mr. Missed on the downshift, and that's why she just went deep, and that's why he did the right thing and just went down the escape road at turn 9, parked the car up.
Gear shift debounce yet again. Strikes. It's not the first time it's happened to Colin Warwick.
Debounce or detent?
Oh, I think debounce is when the setting you've got set it in the game. When you pull it, if you actually pull it twice, it will actually feed it 2 years. But there's actually a setting that you can do if you push it twice or pull it twice. What will happen is that it will actually, if it's within a certain time frame, it won't actually shift down. So you can set it in the game with controller settings. And some games are a bit easier than others, but yeah, unfortunate for Colin Warwick. He was giving it a red hot go. Ooh, Kurt Stenberg, he's come up the back of I believe it's Scott Stancliffe, so that's going to ruin his run, and it's going to open him up to Luke. Is that Luke Rosella behind him?
That is Nolan.
Nolan.
No, it is Rosella. Sorry, Rosella and Nolan are the 2 cars behind now. Scott Stancliffe, that was actually for position that, so he's actually got to, I believe he's got to stop again, so he got a bit closer to the half-distance marker than everybody else did, so he's bolted up the order. It's actually a bit of a reprieve for his teammate, Tim Redmond, after those collisions. Oh, wow!
So that's what happens when you zig when you're supposed to zag. Ben Hall just went the wrong way in the Team Harvey Norman Mustang.
That is worthy of a replay from the Kurt Stenberg onboard with the Smith & Sons replay, because that was a big, big moment. Let's have a look at this. So the run coming out of here. So look at the gap. Look at the distance from the lap traffic here. But when he gets to turn 1, the gap just starts to evaporate at a rapid rate of knots. And then when... Oh, wow!
You can't get on the brakes there. That is just... sometimes you make these mistakes, but that is a critical error there from... Oh, Nathan Higginson, he's got no bonnet on, so that's a bit of a drama there. But that is a critical error from Brent Hall there, and could have ruined Stenberg's race. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Stenny was blowing up about that behind the helmet. Yeah,
and I think that's going to end up in the steward's room after that one. That was a very, very silly bit of driving. I think the intention, I think, was probably right, was that he wanted to, rest the speed of the car and let the faster car that was a lap ahead go through, but he wasn't far enough off the racing line to get the job done.
You don't get on the brakes in front of another car. I'm sorry, that's just not acceptable.
No, definitely not acceptable. And for Kurt Stenberg, position number 3.
Oh, Higginson's in the fence! And he saved it! He saved it!
He saved it. Somehow, he saved that out of that particular part of the track. I have no idea how he did that. He's already running around that bonnet. So down in 18th place, we caught that in the back of shot. So that's allowed was that 4th place man of Luke Rosella to go through and pursue Kurt Stenberg. I'm starting to get our words minced a little bit here, but that's what happens when we start getting a bit excited with all sorts of things going on. And you can see here, that did free that man up. He probably got the best view of it. He had the best seat in the house.
I don't think it would have been the best seat in the house according to him. I think he would have been very tensed up at that moment and probably expecting a giant kaboom sort of incident, maybe an aeroplane crash, as we like to say.
Yeah, we've called a couple of those in our time, I think, as well. There's been a few of very, very interesting instance. The most notable one, as we get a new fastest lap for Will Devonish, the most notable one of those, I think, was actually there's two of them that come to mind. There was the teammates getting together at Phillip Island in 2018.
Boy, how did I know you were going to mention
2019.
that? I was thinking that straight away. I'm just like, hey, remember Billy Dougal-Salonga and Mitch Hathaway getting together?
Mitch Hathaway, a former race winner of this race back in 2019 as well.
Fastest lap of the race, Kurt Stenberg won 17.732. He's pipped it by 4 thousandths of a second over Will Devonish, and he did that all in the middle sector, so very good job there.
Yeah, 31.333 in the middle sector, so he did a fantastic job. Like he wasn't able to press on with that lap earlier on that we saw where he purpled the first sector. He had PB in sectors 1 and 3 and a flying sector 2. Now, where does that put him in this? So he's behind Will Devonish to the tune of 20 seconds, but Will's already done that second stop. So Will's got the luxury here.
He's absolutely brained him here. He's 20 seconds ahead. Sorry, not 20 seconds ahead. He's about 10 seconds behind now.
Yeah.
And the gap is going all sorts of which ways. And I'm not sure what's going on. I'm a bit worried because it said Kurt Stenberg was 14 seconds behind. And now Live Races says it's 8 seconds behind. Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there.
Just settling down, I think, as they negotiate some of the traffic. You can see that Devonish has got traffic in the form of 14th place man Lewis Wedding and Cam Rutledge.
Here we go.
13.
Battle for the podium happening.
Yep, so not only is there a bit of Mustang on Mustang action happening there with Burko and Lime Mitch going on, there's a bit of also Mustang on Commodore action happening for the last spot on the podium. So here we go. And Rosella give the Mustang a debut podium on debut in the main game series.
He's going to fire it in. No, he's not close enough. Is he going to get there? He's actually going to get there in the end. So that's a very good move there from Rosella.
Sidesteps the argument, Pete Savage. I think he realised that the gig was up and probably no point fighting it any further. And that promotes car 55 into position number 3. The South Australian local knows these streets pretty well. And he's got a bit of a mountain to climb if he wants to try and get the rear bumper of Kurt Stenberg. So the deficit you can just see starting to pop up on your screen there. Rosella to Stenberg is just north of 4.5 seconds. Full slide and going to be super committed here under brakes, and good job there by Cheese. Just does the right thing, stays as far right as possible, left the committed line to Luke Rosella, and he's pressing on. So Sector 1 time was obviously a bit poor because of the pass on Savage. Sector 2 time, a personal best at a 31.641. But out in front, Devonish is 17.9, last lap around. Stenberg about to complete his lap at an 18.3. Got a track violation by the looks of things on that lap as well.
Yep, spot on.
And Rosella was 17.8. So, was it 17.8, sorry? No, 20.0.
20.0. So the pace has well and truly left the 55 car at the moment. And for whatever reason, it's just not performing at this later stage of the race. It's performing pretty well at the start of the race. But maybe a bit of a setup change required there.
Speaking of setup changes, these two have been working on setups. Here's Scott Nolan. He's had a pretty quiet run. He's found his way up 3 places as a result of a bit of the attrition and the pit lane strategy, starting to spice a few things up. Smith & Sons back number 18. Ahead of, who's that he's ahead of? That's Tim Redmond. So as I was saying before, Tim Redmond has been thrown a major reprieve because that's about the position he was in before he was caught up in a little bit of door banging and rear bumper tapping with the Commodores in the early going. But he's got 6th place at the moment and eyeing off position 5. Now let's just have a look. How well are they matched?
Pretty evenly matched at the moment in terms of their first split times, 22.389 versus 22.498.
Oh, that's a bit of an odd moment for Nolan. He's just sort of whacked the wall in a braking zone on the run down to the hairpin, and that left him vulnerable for a few seconds.
Was that wall that juts out, was it?
I'm not sure.
There's
I don't think so.
Small area. Ooh, bit of love tap there.
Looked like the
Morse
rear,
code again.
Looked like the rears might have locked on the run down to turn 9.
But anyway, Morse code is available in New Zealand because they've actually laid the Trans-Tasman cable, I believe, in the 1800s at some point. Look, he's got a good run and didn't go anywhere with it. So the mid-corner speed was good, but the exit was very poor for Redmond. And Redmond, very good debut for Kiwi Sim Sports already in the solo events.
And then you've got to go back to his teammate behind, Scott Stancliffe, as well. So Brenton Foley, just to compound matters for the team there, a drive-through penalty for Brenton Foley.
So we saw Redmond have a look on Nolan. They were very close to coming together, and Nolan shut the door, and Redmond was like, oh no, I've got to get out of this. So it could have been a bit of a disaster there for the two of them, but luckily not. And it's not a bad performance when you're able to keep up with Scott Nolan, because he's a fairly quick driver. So very, very good job from Kiwi Sim Sports. They've rolled the 2 ZBs out, and they're competitive straight away. They're 6th and 7th in the race, actually. So very, very good job by the crew.
Yeah, I'm just going back to see if we can pick up his teammate Scott Stancliffe. There he is with the lights on. We don't want to get those off unless he's actually got some lap traffic to encounter. Let's see who he's got ahead of him.
He's having a real go at the moment. He's just whacked the wall.
He's trying to stay ahead of Lime Mitch there in car 13. So he's got a little bit of work to do. Only 1 or 2 more laps to go, and on the lead lap. So this will be a solid debut for these guys.
He is coming up to some lap cars. I think that's Ben Hall in front of him.
Yeah, it is Ben Hall, and it looks like that's actually, who is that? A bit further up the road,
actually.
Yeah, I think you're right. That might be the Turmo car, and Rhodey as well. Yes, well spotted. It is a Turmo's car, as Scotty Stancliffe tries to negotiate the lap traffic, but he'll be pretty happy with this. Top 10 finish, I think, on debut, stepping up from Super 2 to the main game. A number of these drivers can be pretty proud of what they've achieved, and I'm looking down there. I can see 3 of the 4 New Zealanders who started this in the top 10. NZ Snipes is the last man inside the 10. So New Zealand haven't got the sort of skills, I guess, at the moment that the likes of Shane Van Gisbergen and Scott McLaughlin have had for so long in real-life supercars, but they've done pretty well. And the one thing that we have missed in all of that is this man taking the checkered flag. It's just see it flash up on your screen there. So the event that he was in position to win in 2019 and couldn't go on with the job, he has managed to take the chocolates in race 1 tonight. Stenberg got position number 2. Position number 2 was Rosella. I was about to say, what on earth happened to Luke Rosella? Did he get a...
No, he was in 3rd.
He was in third. So there you go. So
don't get too excited.
I was about to say, this is what happens. I get so excited, my mind keeps thinking that something else is going on when it actually shouldn't be going on. But anyway, Pete Savage is going to get home for 4th place. Look at this for a battle, getting across the line. Nolan just holding off Tim Redmond for position 5. Settle down, boys. Right, it's the end of the race. That's it.
They're still racing.
They're still racing.
They're racing in a pit lane.
Oh,
they say, I want to get the ice bath first. No, I do.
Oh,
he's
no. And he's given him a serve. And that was, who was that? That was NZ Snipes, I think, was it?
No, that was Cheese.
Sorry, no, it was Cheese.
I don't think he meant to do that, but no, I think he would have got a rude shock. No. Yeah, that was a bit Mark Skay from Paul Radisich 2001 right there.
Yep. And if we go on board, let's have a look at it from the rear shot of the Nissan, the Smith & Sons replay with the Smith & Sons car, giving the Nissan a bit of a love tap going into the corner there. So, yeah, they pushed on. Now, I think I probably know the answers to why that was going on there. There was a little bit of a flash of the lights as they got across the line, and I think Scotty may have been a little bit upset that he was probably holding them up a little bit as he attempted to hold off Tim Redmond for position there. So Nolan home in 5th, Redmond position 6, Scott Stancliffe at 7th. Lime Mitch, Steve Burko. Now this strategy seemed to work out for him, didn't it? Only up 1 spot from position 10, but he held his own. So the one-stop strategy can be done, but look at the deficit in the end. 1 minute and 10 seconds to the race leader. So clearly not the right strategy, but something that has netted him a result.
Yeah, spot on there, and he actually did get 1 position. So as long as he's moving in the positive direction and that number is green and it's pointing up and not red and pointing down, then it's pretty handy as well. But also another thing, Lockie Burke just got into the top 10. However, that pushed NZ Snipes out of the top 10. So very, very good run for Kiwi Sim Sports and their development team. And in fact, all the Kiwis have had a very good go tonight, with the only sad sob story, I guess, being Peter Thrower buzzing his engine on the down change. But pretty handy sort of job there. They're able to roll the cars out and do a good job already. So very, very good from them. And some very, very good work being done on the podium as well.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So a bit of good work being done on the podium. We're just starting to get a few of the podium sitters in. Just looking for our 3rd placed sitter just to jump them up into the box. And we've got them now. So let's go to the podium interviews for positions in race number 1 this evening. And let's start with our first place man. And for the very, very first time getting an opening race win is Will Devonish. Will, well done.
The team all brought home straight cars, so can't really complain with that either. So yeah, really happy to get a win at Adelaide. It's sort of been a monkey on the shoulder for a while, so really happy with it.
Yeah, certainly has been a monkey on your shoulder. A race that you were in position to win back in 2019 in the very famous race where Mitch Hathaway came from the rear of the field to the front to win that race. And it hasn't been a happy hunting ground for you for just about every time we've seen you race here, and doesn't matter what particular machinery it is, whether it's F3s, supercars, whatever it happens to be. But when you get rid of one of them, geez, it's always a good feeling.
Oh yeah, and it was felt it was quite a decisive race, and the car was just beautiful. After about halfway mark, and the fuel tank was down past halfway. We were just blitzing, and it was a beautiful car to drive, and yeah, really happy with the result done.
Well, the important thing is you've walked away with 150 points to start your championship campaign. It's a much better start compared to what you had last year, and race 2 and qualifying 2 not too much further away. So let's see what you can do for the second half, and see if you can make it a perfect pair.
We'll see. Thank you.
First place man Will Devonish, and let's turn our attention to our second place man here, Hans.
Second place went to Kurt Stenberg tonight, and Kurt, very good job. You were able to gain a couple of positions there, but not a dominating performance as we've become accustomed to seeing from you. So tell us what it was like from your end.
Well, what it was like from my end. Well, I don't think P5 is a good qualifying position, and when you jump on and your first laps are 20 minutes before qualifying, it's not really great either. But to be honest, I lost that race in the pit stop, took way too much fuel. I know the mistake I made. Was uncomfortable with the car in the first stint while battling people, and once I got accustomed to it there in that second stint, we had very good speed, so that sets us up well for this one. We know what we've got a good car under us. We just need to go out there and actually maximise the fucking performance and not...
He's dropped the magic.
He's done the Scott McLaughlin, I think, at Adelaide, hasn't he?
So that's the second bloke that's come up here, and he's dropped the magic straight away. Pete Savage, you're in a very illustrious club, Kurt, but we're a bit worried that the number one, it's a bit of a monkey on your back, isn't it? And we've seen in other series, but not a very bad performance tonight, considering that your first laps were 20 minutes before the practice session ended.
Yeah, no, well, I loaded last year's setup that obviously was a very dominant one. We won this race pretty easily last year. Obviously, completely different race and format, but yeah, so car feels good once I got used to being able to drive it. It's just need to maximise the performance myself. It's driver, the nut behind the wheel that's the problem. So this next race, I'm hoping that we can maximise everything that we need to do, and we can actually get the result that's on the window of the car.
Well, it's a pretty good performance tonight, and hopefully you can move forward if you do qualify poorly, but that is a really good showing. Well done, Kurt.
No worries, thanks guys.
Going over to third place man, who is the Adelaide native in the ASR Supercars Championship here in 2021 in Luke Rosella, and it's not a debut podium, but it's always good to get a podium at your home race, Luke. Well done.
Yeah, thanks to that. Car felt pretty average, to be honest. Absolutely struggling out of quarter exit, but hey, I'm pretty happy with a podium considering the situation I'm in terms of my my pedals and steering wheel. But yeah, it's a good bag of points, and yeah, I'm pretty happy.
Well, talk to us about that, because that's been a drama you've had during this week. Something completely random and something you've been battling with for a while. And I think you were remarking to me, I think it might have been on Wednesday, that you end up having to leave your computer on and you don't restart anything because it becomes a bit of a cactus if it does do something like that. And you're in a position where you had to turn the machine off, and lo and behold, it went belly up.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a gremlin I've had with the Fanatec wheel for a while, and yeah, it just took an update to the computer and I had to turn it on and turn it off and turn it back on the steering wheel, and the gremlin came back, so had to send it back to Sydney to get some repairs. But yeah, I mean, the car pace was all right. Didn't help that I was absolutely Parramatta out sideways at turn 8 and and absolutely smashed the wall. So also battling a damaged car, but nah, I think I'm just looking to get the maximum amount of points I can while I've got this on my old wheel until I get my Fanatec back. But yeah, let's see what race 2's in store for.
Well, we'll let you go, and you can have a bit of a run around, and as everyone likes to call it, have another dip, and see if you can go one better in race 2. Job well done on your podium at your home race.
Thanks, Heather.
Sending back down to join the rest of the drivers in the Discord channel, and that was your podium positions for race number 1. So I wouldn't say it's an unexpected trio of podium getters, but there was a couple of drivers in that one that might have been a little bit different. So Colin Warwick was up there until the engine went. Pete Savage was in that battle, and they were the two that sort of fell away just as the strategy started to unfold a bit. But Will Devenish called the strategy perfectly, got it absolutely spot on, and a couple of other drivers just sort of managed to make their way forward with some very, very smart calls and some very smart driving.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have picked... I would have picked maybe that as my top 3, but I wouldn't have picked them in that order. So I was definitely expecting Kurt Stenberg to come out firing despite his 5th qualifying position, because we do know how good he's able to be around here. And actually every track he's able to go to is pretty good. So he rolls the car out of the TTR truck, and usually it's there or thereabouts, if not there already. So considering that, I think Will did a very, very good job. And also, he's got to take these opportunities when they come, because when Stenny has a bad night, Will needs to be able to take advantage of it. And that's unfortunately what he was not able to do last year, because when something would go wrong, it would usually go wrong for him somewhere down the line as well. He's become, we sort of joke about it, we sort of roast him about it, that he is a bit of a choker, but it's not for no reason. It's because whenever something goes wrong, for one of his main competitors, something mysteriously happens and it goes wrong for him as well. So he's pretty handy steerer actually. So it's good to see him get that result. And also Luke Rosella, despite all the trouble he's had with his wheel and also with a bit of strategy and that sort of stuff as well, he's able to get a good result as well, get on the podium.
Well, in this intermission between races, we're going to do something a little bit different, something we actually haven't done before. We're actually going to bring you inside the broadcast booth here at Outworld Broadcasting. You can see here, my name's Steve DeVries. You've seen me a few times before, and for the very, very first time, you get introduced to the man we call the Encyclopedia of Supercars in Hans Brunswick, next door to me as well. So you can see here, my eyes are darting all the way around the screen because there's quite a fair bit of new technology that's been here.
There's 7 screens here. Where do I look? There's one up there, one over there. It's honestly, I need 7 eyes to actually have one on each screen. Then I can know what's going on at all times.
Well, just to give everybody a bit of an overview about what this has been like over the course of the last few years, if I just dive over here, this is what it's been since we started back in 2018, Sim Race Broadcasting. That's what it was. That was in the first house where I used to do it solo, just on the odd occasion. That was some of the very first racing we've seen. That was the very, very last night in the rental unit, when I think we were in a 2x4 box and we... I don't know what happened, but that was the night prior to moving to this facility, the new house, where I used to call the custom-built commentary box. So that's what it was at the end of 2019. It's had a bit of evolution. That was last year's Bathurst 500. I think I deserved that red wine after that one.
Absolutely, you did a very good job. It was like the greatest race.
And this is what it is now, ladies and gentlemen. So we've gone, as you said, to 7 screens. There's 4 computers in here. 6 screens, 1 laptop, and it looks even more impressive when you're standing on the opposite corner. There's 4 keyboards, mice, there's everything there, and got all the tools. And I actually just want to give a big, big thanks to the people over at PC Case Gear for the Avara monitor stand that is actually putting all these things together. You saw that picture before. There's 3 27s along the bottom. There's a 32-inch in the top corner there, a 22-inch over here, and a 22-inch over there. So we've got all the bases covered here at Outworld Broadcasting. And one thing that we're about to cover now is we take a few seconds just to get ourselves back in order here, is we are about to go into qualifying session number 2. So here we go, Smith & Sons. That is not Smith & Sons replay. That was from the last bit there. We are going back into the qualifying session. So let's get our graphics in order. There we go. And let's see what can be produced by this 25 car field in race number 2. Good field, good turnout. There's a couple of drivers that have been missing tonight. Zach Ross and John McDonald, both still holding together. ZB Commodores not able to make it. And Urjit Mishra, who's the second of the All-Australian Racers Mustangs, the Black Tamiya cars, he's actually relocating back from the Philippines to India, would you believe, from what I've heard. So truly giving it an international flavour if it didn't have enough international flavour with the New Zealand contingent already.
I just hope the weather's better, because those cyclones cyclones and typhoons can stop knocking out his internet connection so he can come race with us more often.
Yeah,
so
that was one of the biggest issues he's had over in recent years, being in the Philippines. It's one of those places where you do intend to get a lot of inclement weather.
Ooh, bit of a concertina effect here with Stenberg slowing down quite rapidly. Dane Liccardo behind him and Nathan Higginson. They're all on flying laps now, about to start a flying lap.
So off we go for qualifying 2. So 8 minutes of the 10 remaining. Everybody about to start first flying laps. Let's have a look at the defending champion. He's got a little bit of clear track. Let's see who can do. He's had a bit of a wiggle in the braking zone, but he manages to stop the car. He's really pushing the envelope here. Ooh.
And Dane Liccardo's around. So
yeah, he's been, I'm not sure if he got love tapped there or if that it was a lose on his own. Looked like he was partially on the curb.
and you do gas it up there. You do have a fair bit of steering lock on board, so you'll actually end up you rotating the car quite quickly, and it just goes around and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So Stenberg is timed to the first sector in that one. We're going to look down our live timing at amsols.liveraces.com, and he's a bit close to the bottom of the list. It's 22.3. Brent Foley is the man that I'm interested in at the minute. So
22.2.
Yeah, he's
and
actually
31.7 to the middle sector, so that's pretty handy.
Yeah, so he's done 2 purple sectors, of course, being the first flying laps. And sector 1 was was now just been bettered by Luke Rosella, but this is a bit of a much better lap for Brent Foley compared to what he's done before. 19.4, at least that's something he can work with.
Solid banker lap.
Yeah, an excellent banker lap. Nolan 68 thousandths of a second behind. Cam Rutledge is the next man to get across the line and set a lap, and immediately surpassed by Stenberg, goes into the 18. So an 18.9, and we are advancing the numbers, as one Neil Crompton would like to say.
So Luke Rosella to the second split, 53.88. So he's 3.5 tenths of a second above that of Stenberg, or rather inside Stenberg's time to the same point. Oh, he runs really wide there, so that's probably ruined his lap. He's probably lost half a second, I should say, in that corner alone. Kurt Stenberg to the first sector, bet his own time, and he didn't lose quite that much. He lost nearly 0.2 of a second, so not handy for Luke Rosella.
Just kept the corner momentum speed going, even though he didn't make the apex. He still just kept a little bit of momentum up, so the time loss wasn't exorbitant, but it did cost him, as you said there, about 2 tenths of a second. Now, is that going to be costly when we get to the business end of this session? Now, pole position lap in race number 1 was Will Devenish's 17 flat. It'd be interesting to see who can get close to replicating that sort of time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a bit of a task, because you have to be firmly in the 21s in the first sector, otherwise you're nowhere in the lap.
Pete Savage to the top now, 18.5. So as we were truly talking about advancing the numbers, we are actually
Stenberg to the top
well.
again by 8 thousandths of a second, so he's just pipped him with half of the session still to go, just over half of the session still to go, I should say.
There wasn't much in that one at all. Look at that at the top of your timing screens, 8 thousandths of a second between Stenberg and Savage. So this has actually been a pretty solid debut for Peter Savage. A nice return in race 1 on debut for CRE Race Engineering, and really showing his own here in qualifying 2. And this is something I probably hadn't expected, but this is the evolution you need to get yourself to, and this is what it's like being around the likes of Will Devenish in the CRE team. It's the same thing that Cam Rutledge and Turmo have gone through over the course of the last 12 to 18 months with their pace advantage and their pace differences from their 2019 campaigns into 2020 was almost a full second, and now they're going to struggle just to try and find those extra 1 and 2 percenters each and every week. But Savage doing a fantastic job here. Purple to the second sector. He's got a bit of traffic in the Team Harvey Norman Mustang of Ben Hall, but does that give him an advantage? It gave him probably a little bit of a disadvantage, I think, because he lost about half of what he had up until the Sector 2 split.
Now, I know Peter has some problems with his pedals, so he uses a Logitech G29 or G920, I'm not sure which one, but they are identical wheels, and he's actually got a problem. The brake pedal, he can't set a dead zone on it, so what happens is that it ends up registering, so it just slows him down. So he is able to do this with his clutch pedal as a brake pedal almost, so considering that, he should be, if he had a brake pedal, imagine how much better he would go.
It's not the same sort of feel though, is it? I mean, I've got a set of G29 pedals behind me, and whenever I push the clutch pedal, I can tell exactly what the difference is between the brake and the clutch pedal and the accelerator pedal.
There is absolutely no feel in it. The only way I can use the clutch pedal is as a clutch, and that's it. You kick it, you stab it, and that's it, you know? But to use it as a brake, I just could not imagine it at all. Like, I'm probably one of the few people who can actually depress the brake pedal fully, which is about 35 kilograms force to actually depress the pedal. So there's a little rubber stopper in there that comes stock with the G29, G920, and I quite like it, but some people don't. So I'm able to depress it, but compared to some of the other cars I've driven, it's quite a light pedal. Oh, Higginson, he's around. He's not.
He wasn't around.
He
We were
caught
just watching
it.
on the other side of the screen, but he's had another one of those moments. He's got Brenton Foley as his idol, I think, when it comes to going sideways. He's trying to emulate him as best he can, and trying to emulate some of the times that he did in race number 1 and qualifying 1. Tim Redmond just picking up where he left off.
Hey, look at that.
Who was that behind him?
That was Nolan behind him.
So Scott Nolan, a big slide through turn
That's
13.
a highlight. That is a highlight.
Yep, and he will have been proud to get Smith & Sons number 18 car on the broadcast for that one. He's promptly exited back to the pit, so I think he realises he'd ruined the lap. And the lap for Tim Redmond there at 21.9, not truly indicative of pace. What's he just come up against? Is that someone just... Oh, and he's aborted.
Yeah, he's aborted the lap.
So that's a bit of a bad situation, I think, for Tim Redmond. Probably something happened ahead that didn't realise what was going on and upset his rhythm and momentum for the first couple of corners through the staircase.
I was just going to say, on the point of Nathan Higginson, he's actually been promoted from ASC Super 3 to Super 2, so he was a bit too good in Super 3 and he's ended up getting promoted. So he's a pretty handy steerer, and although he doesn't rate himself highly when he jumps into a supercar, sometimes he does actually pull out a good performance. So good to see him up there and having a big go as always.
Here's one of the wild cards for tonight's round of racing, the Noah Tara in the ASR Guest Mustang. This is one of the liveries that was painted up as a tribute, I guess, to the original launch livery from the 2020 campaign, where the Mustang was so... 2019, no, whatever the campaign was. I'm getting my dates mixed up now. 2019, thank you for correction. It's been a long day. You remember the launch livery that came with when they were first doing some of the testing was blue and white and red. When it was in the first early stages of development, and the green and yellow tones on this car, I guess you can call it, is the ASR tribute to that livery. The actual launch livery is actually available. Actually, it's been painted up by Brendan Ross and Lewis Wedding, so it is in there for the guests to use, and this is the weapon choice Noah Tara's decided to jump into. Him and his son, and him and his father Greg, sharing the older spec Mustang, put together by Anthony Birch, all used for the last 2 years. They shared a Mustang at the Bathurst 500, and they were in a really strong position actually in that race too.
Oh my gosh, I've just seen Higginson go around. He did a 180.
There he goes. He's had another moment.
Yeah, on the point of
with the Smith &
Taras.
Sons replay there. Let's have a quick sticky beak.
I'll get to that point later.
We'll get to that point in a few seconds' time. Let's have a look at what Nathan Higginson managed to do, because that's a bit of an unusual lose, but there's been a few people had some issues getting off of turn 1, turn 3. So Turmo just ran straight through, and I don't think he
took too much curb. That'll do it.
And upset the balance, and did his best to save it, and no, gave the fence a whack while he was at that particular part of the circuit as well.
So on the point of Taras, they actually did a really good job in last year's AMSL's Bathurst 500. Sorry, I'm referring to the old name. I know you said I shouldn't do it, but I've done it. But anyway, here we go. But that was what it was called, actually, so we'll just go along with it. But yeah, the Matt Harvey Repair and Tune Bathurst 500, they were actually in a really strong position, and we actually thought that they had the real masterstroke of the race with the fuel strategy, but then they started to run out of fuel, so that wasn't good. So they really needed a late safety car to help them there, and unfortunately it just didn't come. So they were waiting for the rain that didn't come as it were in that time. So they tried something different. Didn't pay off for them, but they did get some good TV time at the front, didn't they?
They certainly did. They had a very, very good run, and as you called it perfectly, the safety car that never came, they gambled on it and it didn't happen. So last lap's being completed here, and I think Noah Tara is one of the last cars on the track to get his last lap in. But there's actually been a bit of a change. He goes to P14, so that's a really nice improvement. 6th position improvement.
half a second over his PB, 1:19.891.
Yep, and he is the last man across the line, and that hands pole position for race number 2 to Pete Savage and his teammate alongside Will Devonish, whose car you can't see in that shot, in position number 2. So it's an all CRE race engineering front row for race 2.
Again, I don't want to say this, but I'm actually surprised that the CRE team have come out firing as they were, because I guess we sort of have come to expect them to not be that good in the race. Oh, sure, the qualifying performances are there, but I don't remember Pete, coming out firing like this when he was driving for Lewis Sim Sport. So maybe just the new change of scenery and just being able to drive different setups, being able to bounce some things off a team leader really helps him. But yeah, he's really come along in leaps and bounds in a way. But I think it's really good for the team that they've got some 2A drivers together. But pairing them both together, unfortunately, they do share the same pit boom, so strategy might be a bit of an issue. But they can be a 1-2 punch.
They definitely can be a 1-2 punch. So off the front row, though, we'll be interested to see what Devonish's starts are like. But in a couple of minutes' time, we'll go racing for race number 2. And what we'll do now is we'll take a short break so we can have a bit of a drink, and we'll be back shortly. ASR's Supercars Championship in 2021 is proudly brought to you by Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions. Smith & Sons. Design, plan, construct. Cam Rutledge Electrical, and Matt Harvey Repair and Shoon. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Race number 2 for tonight, not too far away for the opening round of the ASR Supercars season for 2021. As I said too many times already, proudly brought to you by Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions. Hoping to get a couple of photos through from Scotty Nolan of some of the work that these guys do. So if you are thinking about having a bit of work done around the house, you can have a look at the kind of work that they do and contact the local Smith & Sons representative in your area. And some of the bathrooms and kitchens and things we've seen over the last couple of days for the Smith & Sons crew is absolutely top-notch work. So looking forward to having them on as a partner for the entire Supercars season for 2021. A couple of little things just happening in the background, just making sure everybody in the grid boxes are all set and ready to go. Just a couple more minutes left before we go to race number 2 for this evening. Hans Brunswick just taking a little bit of an extended break at the moment. He's just out the back having following up on a couple of things. He's picked up a bit of work in the recent past and has got a little bit of things to do. He's out there just having a bit of a quick chat to a few people behind the scenes in the pit lane while we get going. Let's go back and have a bit of a look, as we said, at this Adelaide Street circuit. We'll pull it up again while the warm-up session is still going on. Just there, nestled in the southernmost part of the South Australian state here in the great land down under. Just to the southeast of the city, the 14-turn, 3.2 kilometre street circuit that commonly known as the Adelaide Parkland circuit. And as Hans mentioned earlier on in the night, you need a very, very good car, balanced all around, be able to ride the curbs, just flow the car nicely, keep up all the rhythm through the staircase. You can see here with the onboard in the top right-hand corner, just ride those curbs nicely through turns 1, 2. Don't take any curb on the inside at turn 3. And then it's a very hard stop, one of the hardest stops on the circuit for turn 4. And then up through the staircase. Sometimes on the run between turns 4 and 5, some drivers rather will elect to just leave the pit lane, sorry, not leave the pit lane limiter, they'll just leave the car in gear. They won't go up a gear and then back one notch. They'll just let it bounce on the limiter and then get going through the rest of the staircase. And then this big long run down Bartels Road, or what was Bartels Road, down towards turn 8, fastest part of the circuit, and then to the second hard stop on the circuit. You brake about the 150 metre board, get the car turned in. Some drivers electing to use first gear and getting a better pull away out of this turn. Some drivers electing to leave it in second, especially if you're trying to save a little bit of fuel. Continuing sequence of left-hand bends through sector 2 and 3, and now the run to the last corner. Second last corner, some drivers elect to throw the car up over the curb, try and carry a bit of speed, but you want to make sure you keep the car nicely balanced and pull it up straight for the final corner, and then the run to the line. Lap time of the in the realms of 1 minute 17 to 1 minute and 20 seconds. And only a couple more minutes until we get going again. Hans Brunswick just sorting out a few things, having taken an extended break. And that's one thing, I guess, about being in a home studio, Hans, is we've got all the facilities here. We don't have to run downstairs. We don't have to run anywhere. We've pretty much got everything at our fingertips that we need to do.
No, I'm not on. But compared to some of the places we've commentated at in real life, not to say it's poor or anything, but when you're far away from home, it's very difficult to get set up properly, because especially when you're 3 hours away in Winton, or when it's a hot, sun-burning day down at Phillip Island, or it's cold and it's raining sideways and it's absolutely a shocker day at Phillip Island. Barry Sheen used to call it the gateway to hypothermia, and he was right, honestly. I've never seen a good day down at Phillip Island, except for Island, not Island Magic, Phillip Island Classic just gone, so very great event down there. Saw some old V8 supercars down there. I definitely froth that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. And, of course, we mentioned Winton just in that as well. And one thing coming up in the next 7 days, actually starting next weekend, the second round of Victorian State Circuit Racing Championships to be held at Winton in Northern Victoria. I'm going to be looking forward to going up there. Blendline's going to be doing some live streaming again. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're unable to make the journey up to Winton, please get on board the live stream with Blendline and support your grassroots motorsport. So, it's going to be interesting because it was meant to be the second round last year as well, but we didn't have the luxury of being able to go to that event because, of course, of COVID restrictions. But the VSCRC did everything possible to try and get that to go ahead, but unfortunately wasn't able to happen. So round 2 will be interesting, not being so cold. And now it's time for round number 2, or race 2 rather, for tonight's
round 2 in the ring, ding ding.
Ding ding.
As it were. But anyway, Pete Savage, first pole in ASR Supercars competition. Very good job there, and a healthy improvement from last season already. Will Devonish in second, followed by Luke Rosella in third. And actually, is that Steve Burko? He might be out of position there.
No,
Steve Burko, he's in fourth. So very, very good lap from Steve Burko as well. I was quite surprised to see him up there, and he was a quiet achiever because he sort of just snuck into the top 5. Colin Warwick in 5th place, with his good mate Kurt Stenberg alongside him on the 3rd row of the grid. Tim Redmond continuing the solid run for Kiwi Sim Sports in 7th. And Brennan Ross, a more indicative performance of PBF Race Engineering, firmly in the top 10 in 8th. Scott Nolan in 9th. And Scott Stancliffe rounding out the top 10. Brent Foley, more indicative performances again from the 074, past champion, a multiple-time champion of ASR competition. Peter Thrower, hopefully he can have a better race this time. Lewis Wedding in the Mentone premix Mustang. Very good livery this. I highly rate this livery. It's one of the better looking ones considering how simple it is. Noah Turra in the ASR guest car. I think that actually looks better than the Mustang test livery myself. The colours just match it much more nicely. Lockie Burke in Hype Sim Sport finished top 10. Maybe the qualifying performances leave a bit more to be desired. NZ Snipes in 16th. He'll be looking to resume that battle. Turmo in 17th. Lime Mitch in 18th. And Cam Rutledge in 19th. Back to the 20. Steve Warwick. Hopefully he's able to get through the race this time. Bit sad to see him out of the race early. Dane Liccardo in 21st, along with his privateer sort of stablemate, I guess, in Nathan Higginson. Cheese down in 23rd, Brody in 24th, and rounding out the 25 cars on the grid tonight will be Ben Hall, or 26 cars. No, we've got Zach Ross in the still holding together team. He's representing Brown's Chill Iced Coffee.
Yeah, late minute
very
entry.
distinctive livery this. Very, very distinctive livery.
Yep, so he's missed the driver's briefing and probably just didn't work out that he's meant to be behind Ben Hall, so he's a late entry into this one. Apologies, we just had a couple of issues with the track cameras, just getting a couple of things sorted with the little switcher we have here to make it all go running. And we're just sort of waiting on the cars a bit further at the back to make their appearance. And you can see here we've got the lights ready to go for race number 2. So let's see that come on. As soon as you hear the rev start to rise, you'll know that we're not too far away from the race start. Tardy maybe today. Yeah, the seagull flying along, that's there.
The ominous seagull.
Plenty of those hanging
It's Luke
around.
Rosella.
Right, here we go. Looks like we're getting into race 2 action in the next couple of seconds. Lights are on, and when they go out, you know what happens. Go! Pete Savage got a better jump, but it went to Luke Rosella a bit further back, had a bit of a look as well, but now around the outside goes Will Devenish, so it wasn't...
Oh, they're trying to go side by side.
Oh, that's a massive cut as well.
Look at Colin Warwick, he's up there. He's up in a second. He's going to be up in the second by the time
He's
they get to
gonna go
turn
down
4.
the
He's going to
inside.
get the first potentially.
He's going to go down the inside at turn 4, and he's got
There
the
you
job
go.
done. So
wow.
ripper start yet again for Colin Warwick, but he's going to have to fight hard for this one, and it's in the fence. So Devenish and Warwick came together, came to blows.
Both CRE cars in the war because, what am I saying? Pete Savage has ended up in the other side wall.
And Burko's come out with the whole shot out of that one. He's got position 3. So Steve Burko
This is
just
a massive traffic jam here. They're
hung
all
around
over the road.
They're going to have to sort themselves out for turn 8 because this could be an absolute disaster if it doesn't happen. Stenberg was very late to back out of it as well, and that leaves him vulnerable to Rosella. And Rosella's going to come down the inside now at turn number 9. And he was looking to get the job done, but he couldn't quite make it happen. Now he's on the outside, as you can see here, of Stenberg. And
But
Stenberg,
Rosella's gone backwards. He's lost 3 spots.
he's had a shocking start. And then Stenberg just having to check up late to tuck in behind Pete Savage. He became vulnerable immediately, went deep at the final at
Oh,
turn 9.
Burko, he's launched a move on Warwick at the critical moment, and the door closed. It was firmly shut there, so now Pete Savage is right on his rear bumper.
Big angry train of cars. This is music to Will Devenish as he's bolted. He's managed to clear away and is going. And there's door banging going on there as well. There's guys pinballing off the walls. This is a very angry pack. It's going to be hard. The Kiwi Sim Sports cars are off.
Teammates! Disaster for the teammates. They're both in the wall.
Where are they? Let's see if we can find them. They're actually cycling through to see what's going on here. There they are. There's Stancliffe. Drops to the back. And then Redmond as well. That is an unmitigated disaster. Smith & Sons replay coming up. What on earth happened here? The Kiwis were in the top 10. They were looking very good. They were caught in the angry pack, and they just needed to settle it down. What happened here?
A lot of push and shove here.
Oh,
he's
Stancliffe.
outbraved himself.
No.
Oh, that is going to be a very awkward debrief tonight.
That is certainly going to be. And Redmond managed to get away the better end of those two, so it wasn't all bad news. But for Stancliffe, that is a major mistake. And a very costly from a very good position for those guys as well. And poor Scotty Stancliffe now down the back of the field.
And they were both together as well, and they were firmly in the top 10, so it's just gone horribly wrong for them.
But that's what it does being in the close confines around a street circuit like this, though, isn't it, Hans? You just got to keep your wits about you. You cannot relent for 1 millisecond.
I think he was trying to cover off a move from behind him, and unfortunately it's just gone wrong there.
Well, it's settled down a little bit now, so the top driver on the standings at the moment, Will Devonish, has managed to clear away to the tune of about 2.5 seconds. There's still an angry little pack forming here, so Savage and Burko continuing their battle. So they were teammates last year, remember, at Loose Sim Sport. He had Savage aboard the JB Hi-Fi number 88 back in the day, I think it was, with the JB Hi-Fi backing. Steve Burko brought the Boost Mobile stuff to his car last year as well. So guys are no stranger to each other.
Wow, Burko's doing a fantastic job so far. He's up in 4th, and he's got a massive slide on. I just put the mockers on him. No, he's still there.
And for a moment, I thought again that very briefly almost opened the door for Luke Rosella to have another crack at
He's had a nibble.
TTR Commodore, and he had another nibble there as
Bit
well.
of short back and sides there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, short back and sides will be in order, I think, down the barber shop, I think, tonight for a couple of
Adelaide
these drivers.
Barbershop. You see Foley just at the very corner of that picture. We saw him getting sideways.
Now, this is actually a better position for Brenton Foley relative to the last race. A very, very poor race 1. And he's just got to keep his wits about him here. He got his teammate 2 spots further back in Brendan Ross is inside the top 10. Lewis Wedding in the sister 777 car to Steve Burko's number 7 is in the PBF sandwich in a minute. There he is, back a shot, along with Brendan Ross.
Interesting to note that Foley's gone forwards while Ross has gone backwards. So Ross has gone back 3 and Foley's gone forward 3. So a bit of changing places for the Red Bull PBF race engineering team.
I wouldn't be surprised to see if Brendan Ross is probably caught up in a little bit of that drama with the Kiwi Sim Sports Commodores. He might have been in the wrong position and sort of just had to check up maybe to avoid what was going on, and may have come off worse where, because they were ahead of this pair in the running order. So what Brenton Foley sees from his point of view, not his point of view, but from the TV cam on top of the car.
It's almost a better point of view than what the drivers get.
Yeah,
you get a bird's eye view of it all.
A bit higher up on the car than what would otherwise be. It's a fantastic viewing angle for us to see how all this goes. You can see there, look, we've got Nolan ahead, Rosella, and then he's right under the rear wing of Kurt Stenberg's TTR Commodore.
The SSR cars, they are line astern at the moment, and Nolan will definitely be playing rear gunner.
Nolan's actually had a pretty decent run at the start of this race relative to the last race. He has had to work his way forward in race 1 after a bit of an average start. But in a strong position here, qualifying 2 went a little bit better for him. We did see him periodically throughout last season. In fact, he debuted at this round last season. You saw it on we were watching very, very early. You saw the intro where he took the Commodore for a 360-degree spin through the last corner, plucked a gear and off he went. That was his highlight from last year. And no highlights so far. But
quite achiever.
But quite achiever. I think that's a good call.
Yeah, he's just been staying out of the wars actually, so very good job from Nolan, and he's got a wise head on him, so he definitely knows what to do, and he knows not to do any rash manoeuvres.
Big gap starting to form out in front as well, so race leader here has got a pretty handy buffer. You look at the visuals, we just sort of park it on the wall there. There's position 1. There goes Colin Warwick, Pete Savage, and then this angry train!
Oh,
Who was that?
Rosella's off the road!
Is it Rosella or was it Nolan?
He was off the road. No, he's got it all wrong. He's off.
He's, where is he? He's gone down an escape road somewhere, has he? We're just trying to see if we can pick him up. We're struggling to pick him up here as everybody goes past. Has he recovered from the escape route? There he goes. Ooh.
So there he is right now. So it's taken quite a while for him to recover. He's down in 16th, so disaster for Luke Rosella. And these are the things that we get from not racing for 100 days and having to change his hardware.
Did he grab
clipped
the wall?
The wall.
Oh, he did too.
The wall.
Let's rewind that back and have a bit of a look. Did he actually get the wall there? I think he did.
That bang.
Yeah, he did too.
Oh.
That's a big mistake. So 2 big mistakes. And you look at the damage on the side of the car there too from the other side of the wall. So that's what went wrong there. So 2 big mistakes from some from one from a seasoned campaigner in Luke Rosella, and then the other one earlier on from Scott Stancliffe making the move up. And no surprise, he's come in for a stop.
So he's going to go long now, because this is the only strategy that can work for him, because if you're going to lose that much time, you might as well pit.
Well, not only that, this is the inverse strategy to what a lot of other drivers did. So I still expect him to go with a 2-stop strategy, but if you do the math, you got to about lap 12 in race 1 for the first stop at 24.25, and then it's about 7 laps from where he was then to get to the flag. So now he's going to have to make those 2 stints work for him. Let's pick up the race lead up. He starts lap 7. Got a comfortable margin too. Have a look at that. That's a better part of a 3-second margin as it stands according to live timing at the moment. Wait for the live timing to roll over. It'll give us a bit more of an update as to where it stands. So having a look at the back end of the 26 car field and left hand side, there is 3.5 seconds. So live timing is correct. And Devon is pressing on. And once he's managed to get out of the crosshairs of this trailing pack, he's actually been pretty solid. And one thing that Kurt Stenberg's got in the crosshairs right now is car 7.
Yeah, car number 7, Steve Burko at the wheel, and he's firmly in the tow here. If he can get a good run out of here, he can fire it down the inside. But Burko's pace has been quite good, actually. I'm surprised he's able to match. He's actually not that far off Pete Savage's times, actually, so he's doing a very, very solid job indeed.
Got to remember too that Steve Burko went the inverse strategy after all of that in race number 1 as well. He went with the hard tyre strategy and it didn't pay off, so he's learnt the lesson from that one, and being a high deg circuit, probably the wrong call there, but he's decided probably to go with the softer tyre, and that's probably the uptick in pace that we're experiencing with him on screen right now, being right in the firmly entrenched in the top 5 and holding his own very, very well against a
safety car.
Champion.
Safety car.
There is too. There's a safety car
out. It might
out.
be for Higginson. He's just DNF'd in the last lap or so.
Yeah, so I think you're probably right there. And we'll go back and have a look at the Smith & Sons replay in just a few moments. We get our replay going, and we do have it. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen. This is the cause of the safety car. So this is now a free kick to Luke Rosella. He's done the stop. What did Nathan Higginson do? Gassed it up off the exit, gave the wall a whack, and
very heavy hit.
That's a big whack too. So yeah, that will be the cause of the Camaro safety car coming out, and he will find himself in the garage and out of this race.
Oh, Stenberg in the fence. He's just hit the fence at turn 8.
Yeah, they're racing. These guys are racing.
They're still racing
to get to the pits. So this is an issue. Now Rosella's got no choice here. He has to keep going. He can't come in.
He's got to push on. He's got to push on.
But this now gives him a bit of an incentive, maybe to try and get back onto a similar footing compared to everybody around him.
Stenberg's having a massive go here because he realises that he needs to make the time now, otherwise he's never going to get it back. And does he go into the pits? And Burko was looking to go into the pits as well, but he was too late to commit.
I reckon that's a bad decision from Burko. He should have been in. Look, and he got CRE teammates.
Double stacking.
Yep, double stacking's a problem. Oh, that's almost borderline to an unsafe release too.
Oh
so
gosh.
This is a major drama for some of these drivers.
I think he gave him a bit of a push start out. He said, "Here you go, Will, have a push start."
And there's going to be lap traffic involved in this as well.
Look at the PBF cars there side by side.
Yep, there they are in the back of shots. Kurt Stenberg continues on, and there's a few drivers that have taken a gamble here and gone through, and I don't blame them for taking this gamble and going to try and vary it up. So on track, Will Devonish was the race leader. Now he's come out in position 5, so the drivers that did not stop, Steve Burko we saw was beyond the commitment point, and I think that's probably going to cruel his race. You've got Tim Redmond, who was involved in that skirmish with his teammate at the beginning of lap 2. Termo in the 51 car for CRE Motorsport, and Lockie Burke in the Hype Simsport Mustang.
So they've all made their stops, and they've actually jumped the field here. So this is actually a really good job.
I'm not sure if they've made stops. This is my concern. I'm trying to work out. I don't think they have stopped.
No, they haven't.
Well, Burko hasn't stopped. So
Burko definitely hasn't stopped. Neither has Tim Redmond, Termo, and Lachlan Burke, because their laps are still in the 20s. So clearly they've not lost that much time.
No, correct. They haven't actually come in for a pit stop. So the top 4, well, this is going to be interesting too. And the important thing for Will Devonish here is he's now come out ahead of the lap traffic as well. So lap traffic in Ben Hall, who's already gone a lap down. So I think he's had an off somewhere as well. Him and Benjamin Rhodes are the 2 drivers 1 lap down early on in this piece. I think they've probably been trapped a lap down by the safety car as well. They won't get that lap back.
Now, I'm not sure if Luke Rosella, he hasn't gained anything yet, so there's still a while to go, but he's about to catch up onto the train. The safety car is at turn 4 at the moment, so Luke he's got a fair way to catch up. And maybe it didn't quite work out as he would have liked, but at least he's going to be able to latch onto the back of the field. And there's going to be some cars he'll get past pretty easily, I think. There you go, gains a few spots.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of reshuffling of the order here. I'm just looking on the other side at the moment, and a couple of drivers just being told to go ahead of drivers that they shouldn't be following. And that'll be to do with where the order was frozen when the field came through. So Lockie Burke has probably just been told to go behind Will Devonish. I reckon that maybe it will have been when he came out of the pits. He came out ahead of Lockie Burke, and Burke Cruz had a bit of speed on board as he got across the line, and the stewards have corrected that order. So corrected order: Will Devonish, Colin Warwick, Pete Savage and Kurt Stenberg is your top 4. The drivers in amongst all the drivers that have not stopped. The big loser you saw out of that one, Luke Rosella, with his moment going down the escape road at turn number 11. So he's now recovered to be position 16, but the important thing is he's in the mix in the train.
And
Now,
not all of the cars ahead of him have stopped either, so they'll have to peel off at some point.
Yeah.
But I think the big loser from this definitely be Steve Burko, because he was up there and he was fighting, he had the pace, and unfortunately he wasn't able to make the call early enough, and I think he'll go on to rue that mistake. And they're all peeling in now.
yep,
So
here they come actually. So Burko's realised that, and so too has a Tim Redmond.
Ooh.
So they've come in
gone off the
to
road.
take a stop. So too Lockie Burke, and that's the Pete Thrower in the 56. So a couple of those drivers have taken the bait.
So Luke will jump up the order here because he's staying out, of course.
Correct. So that then promotes Termo, who is yet to stop, up to position number 1. There is the beautiful ASR Camaro safety car leading the field around what should be the last lap under safety car. But this will be interesting for Will Devonish. He'll be on the horn to Termo very, very quickly. They're in the same team, although be it one sister team and one more senior team. And it'll be a very polite, don't hold me up please, you know what the drill is. As soon as we get to turn 4, I would probably like to have the inside please. There's no passing before the control line. So they've all got to behave themselves. And I don't know about the ploy from Burko to, go a little bit longer and go to the back of the train, but unless he's really trying to shorten up his final stop, it's going to be a bit of a tall order from there. I mean, he was going to have to stop twice anyway. He may as well sort of just pressed on and, taken whatever the bait was. But I mean, it's the lesser of two evils now, isn't it? He's come in and he's got the better fuel situation compared to a lot of the other drivers, and he will still have to stop again, but he's probably not going to lose as much time if he had done both stops under green flag.
Yeah, at this point I'd be clutching it in and, letting the engine idle along as we go down the straights and all that. So just try not to be too sudden with any acceleration or braking. But Burko, he's very good at fuel saving.
Here we go. There goes the safety car.
So safety car is out and away.
Accelerating away from the field. So Termo will hold the speed limit so we get the green flag. And there's a 10-second stop go for Steve Warwick. So I'm wondering if that's just for being out of position. But this is a bit awkward now because the green flag has been shown. And smart move for Ben Hall, just getting out of the way, letting everybody else go through.
But he's done that before the control line. So there's going to be bust-ups and dramas and all that sorts of stuff because he can't. Colin Warwick can't pass him, but he's passed him now, so I think there's a bit of an etiquette drama there.
So away we go.
Termo leads the field.
And I think you'll probably find that down the inside at turn 4, Will Devonish wants the inside, and the communication has been made, and that's precisely what happened there. So Will goes through to position 1, and now the interesting bit is that rear gunner in Termo becomes a bit of a rolling roadblock now for a very brief period of time.
Car.
And a safety car again. So what on earth was the cause of that one there? We got somebody off the road, and as you see, Steve Warwick is unable to serve the stop go. I actually think that he's been penalised incorrectly for that one, but I'm struggling to see if anybody was around there. Wondering maybe if it might have been
a slow-moving car.
Ben Hall maybe might be the.
Sometimes when you've got a lot of slow.
Oh, hang on! No, we've seen it.
No,
we've seen
got
it. It's the hype SimSport cars. I think we're just looking to see what's happened there. Lockie Burke And there we go. So that's what's happened there. And they managed to get Smith & Sons replay graphic up for that one, but there's been a little bit of a kerfuffle at turn 4. And that's the end of that one. So that explains what went on there. And second safety car in as many laps.
Cruel for Lockie Burke, he was up there and fighting. And for NZ Snipes as well, who was the other car involved in that incident. So not good. They were having a good battle in race 1. Unfortunately, it's come to blows. And definitely not the way they would have liked to end that.
No, definitely not. There's that then sort of makes it a bit of an interesting point of the fuel situation and pit stop situation, because most of the field only stopped a couple of laps ago with another 3 laps under safety car. Do you gamble here? Do you gamble on maybe coming in again and maybe trying to put the hard tyre on and maybe do what Steve Burko did? Yeah, there is a few actually cars that are in the pits.
One of them is Luke Rosella. Another one might be Lime Mitch.
Well, he's actually got nothing to lose, Luke Rosella, so we'll go back and actually have a bit of a look and see what he can do after that one. He was at the tail, pretty much almost down the tail end of the longest line anyway.
Yeah, so Luke Rosella, it's sort of a salvage operation for him now. Still a 3rd place in the first race, but unfortunately it's all gone pear-shaped now. And that's the issue with not being comfortable in the car and having your usual wheel go off to Sydney for repairs, Fanatec. I would definitely be billing the dramas and the damage to Fanatec for sure.
Let's see if we can pick up the people that stopped there. So I think you can see this is probably one of them who stopped just a few seconds ago, Tim Redmond. So not a bad idea if you're at the back end of the queue anyway to come in and take some service. And the other man you're ahead of him, you see, yeah, Lime Mitch was another one. So he was at the pit stop sequence as well. And you're right, Luke Rosella was the other one who came in and decided to fill up. Now, I don't think he's gone, oh, what's going on here? There's a little bit of jockeying for position, a few guys just not paying attention to what's going on. Safety car should now pick the field up. Now, there's a few people just trying to get themselves in order under this one. Now, safety car is not really a common occurrence in the sim racing that we do here at ASR. There's always one every now and again, but the important thing is we haven't had one for some time. The last ones we had were actually at the Gold Coast event last year. I think we had like 3 or 4 all year last year. I don't recall any others across any of the major series, so it's not exactly a common occurrence. You've just spotted something rather amusing. We go on board with Steve Burko here, and what's he got there? He's got the Adidas boots on.
He's got the Adidas boots on, so very, very good there. Man of style, Steve Burko. And I'm sure there's some sort of meme going on with that, but how fantastic does the interior of the car look? All the decals. Very, very well presented car, and thanks to the people who worked on this. Night and day, it seems.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So Nathan Higginson, Lewis Wedding, they put in the hard yards about getting all the surfaces paintable and making it all happen. And Burko, who this has probably given him a bit of an incentive now that, you know, it was not all bad news with his stop from before. And he's now there behind Cheese. Now, probably got another 2 laps of safety car here, so this will get us to half distance. So we'll go back to racing on lap 16, on the end of lap 16 rather, which is the half distance mark. Now, everyone from here is going to have to stop again, but in terms of the fuel burn, what does this do? How do you play this, Hans? What are you thinking? Are you thinking about if we get no more safety cars from here, do you just sprint it all out, split the strategy down the middle? Do you run the tank down as far as it can, run the tyres, push the tyres as hard as you can and just come in when they give up? There's a couple of different schools of thought here.
I think the safety car, if we get another safety car period, obviously you'd just go and fuel save it. That's what I would do. If you didn't have the pace, just go and fuel save it and hope for the best. Try something different. Try the thing that nobody else tries.
Yeah, it's like the Lewis Hamilton analogy. I think that Bono uses box opposite, isn't it? That's the common catchphrase, isn't it? Basically, do what your opponent does not do.
Yeah, because, I mean, we've seen a lot of these races that we see that the main competition, they struggle to get past each other on the track. And they end up pitting on the same lap. So I think, I've been vocal about it in the past about these strategic miscues, but I think, hopefully, if Burko is telepathically communicating with me right now, he'll do something different.
Yeah, I think I've called it a few times. A few drivers, I think Lewis Weddings agreed with me on 1 or 2 occasions in some of the live streams. You just got to, you take that gamble. Like, we've seen it happen at Bathurst time and time again. I think it was in the GT3 World Series last year. Everybody sort of came in on the 1 lap under safety car, and then you got somebody that did something a little bit different. They decided to stay out, gamble on another safety car. Sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. In this case, everybody knows that the 2-stop strategy was the way to go in race 1, but it sort of had the question mark thrown over it in this race with back-to-back safety cars wiping 6 laps off the effective green flag running, and then giving everybody a little bit of something to think about what they can actually do from here. I would expect to see the likes of Devonish, Colin Warwick, Pete Savage and co, who are up here in the top positions, get going. So here we go, safety car in the pits, and that means a restart for Will Devonish. So off we go. Oh, I said there was a bit of a serve happen there. And now the procedure calls for, it's gamesmanship. Now they've got to hold the limit to the line as well. So no overtaking for the control line, and off we go.
Good start from Devonish. He's off.
What a great restart from the whole field, though. Look at them all bunched up nice and tight. So line of stern, boom, 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 over the curbs, bouncing all the way through 1, 2, and 3. This is the prime chance for Colin Warwick. He hasn't had this opportunity since the beginning of the race to be this close to Will Devonish, or in fact in front. And he thinks about the switch, bait and switch. Didn't get it done though at turn 5. Devonish was awake to it. That's now let his teammate Pete Savage in the door as well. And Kurt Stenberg's throwing it over the curbs and looking for position as well.
So I think Noah Tara potentially has missed the start because there is a bit of a gap to him, and a couple of cars got past him now. So he's currently under attack from Steve Warwick. He's probably... Oh, look at that.
2.
Big slide.
There was 2 cars got the fence there. Warwick was one, and I think Stenberg may have been the other. And Savage, a late look, half-hearted look, I would call it, down at turn 9. And for the moment, everything presses on as is. Now, Scott Nolan's got to fly the flag here for Synergy Sim Racing in lieu of Luke Rosella, because Rosella at the moment, he has not made much of a headway into the deficit he needs. He's P16, making
big
deficits
move,
into the...
Big move,
and...
hip and shoulder.
Yeah, hip and shoulder move. And
hey, look at Stenberg.
Stenberg likewise on Pete Savage, and they're going to go door to door all the way up to 1 here as well. And Savage probably backs out of it, and he does. He needs the line for turn 1. And backs it there. Britton Foley's in this battle as well. So this is good for PBF Race Engineering. They're fighting away in this really intense battle pack for the podium positions here.
Oh, look at Nolan. He's got down the inside of Savage. So Savage has had a poor run out of centre chicane, and he's being boxed from billet to post here. So he is absolutely getting torn apart by the cars behind him.
Yeah, very, very close confines and working in a phone box, as I like to call it. He's got no room to move, and top 3 are just starting to kick away a little bit here. So Nolan's got to press on. Warwick's got the job done, so he actually has found a way through on Devonish while we were looking at the skirmish behind. So job well done for Colin Warwick. He now leads the motor race. Nolan, the only Mustang inside the top 5.
They're all getting into each other. We saw Devonish get into Warwick and Stenberg get into Devonish, and this opens the door for Nolan as well. So Nolan is right on the hammer of Kurt Stenberg, defending champion number 1 for this season, TTR Commodore.
Both throwing it up over the curbs at 13. Top 2 pair. Oh, was there a touch there? I don't know if that was Nolan with the compression lock under the brakes or not, or whether there was a bit of contact from Pete Savage, but there may have been some contact because it puts Foley right on the back bumper of car 58. Let's have a look at that on Smith & Sons replay, actually. Let's see if we can see if there was a little bit of contact coming down into the final corner.
He was right up him. He was right up him right there.
He was right up under the rear wing. So on the run through 13, and the answer to that equation is yes.
Yes.
And Foley got into as well. So as Savage got into Nolan and then went backwards a little bit, that's what gave Foley the run. Foley actually got into the back of Pete Savage as well and all of that.
So just seeing Warwick drop down the order. He's probably missed the timing point here, so we'll see that go back to normal in a moment.
Yes, we will.
But Warwick, I think he's got a 2-second gap or something over Devonish?
Oh, it's about a second.
Oh,
I
sorry,
think.
about a second. My eyes are deceiving me.
Here we go. It's just corrected itself. So yeah, just on a second. So not too far off there, Hans. About double the distance you originally thought.
Oh well, 50% is close enough, isn't it?
Pretty close is good enough. But it won't be good enough if you want a podium position in this race. Oh, Nolan, big send, and he's locked the inside front there, and he's opened the door for Pete Savage, and that's a cakewalk. If you're saying was it the Collingwood team? Something everything's a cakewalk for the good old Collingwood.
Controversial lyric that.
It is a very
we won't talk about that
lyric.
now. Colin Warwick, he's actually run all 4 wheels over the curb, so that's a track cut there for sure. We'll see when we get to the first timing intermediate. Yeah, Savage and Nolan here boxing on.
And Colin Warwick got looks like he got a track cut or something on either on this lap or the lap prior, because we haven't got a sector 1 time for him, and I think that was also his undoing in race number 1. He managed to rack up a couple of curb strikes with bad sportsmanship
and
flag,
he's got a track cut on
as they
this
would like
lap
to
as
call
well.
it. So yeah, he's done it again. So this becomes a bit of a worried moment for him. With still almost half the race to go. He's got to be very, very careful. I don't know how many he's actually got. I'm actually going to go and have a bit of a quick look into the live timing and just see how many he does have. And he's got 2, so he's actually halfway in his allocation. So the drivers get 3, and then 1 more after that. You are gone on your 4th. So over abuse of the turns at the curbs at turn 1 will be the cause for that one. And top 2 pair. Just keeping on at the moment. You can see back there, Devonish fastest lap. So then still 4 Commodores, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Scott Nolan, the lead Mustang in 5th. Brenton Foley still hanging on. It's actually PBF, both PBF cars inside the top 10. And there they are. So Brendan Ross trailing teammate Brenton Foley as they head up into turn 4. And then inside the 10, you've got Zach Ross. Geez, hasn't he had a good run? He started the rear of the grid. That was the story for those guys last year to Bathurst 500, Zach Ross and John McDonald. They started rear of grid and finished 3rd.
Yeah, very, very good strategy work there, and I was glad that we were able to pass them. So Burko and I were able to pass them in the closing laps, unfortunately after a dud pit stop, so I had to do it all again. But no, very, very good job from Zach Ross, and I wouldn't be surprised if John McDonald's on the cans right now and telling him, yelling in his ear when he should pit and whatever, because Zach is a pretty handy steerer, and he does like to get it very flamboyant and sideways. I think he's even more sideways than Brent Foley, so yeah, we'll see him up there. Another sparring partner of Burko and Savage, actually.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Very, very good mates with Peter Savage, Steve Burko, Zach Ross, a number of those guys, all good mates, and from all over the country too. A pair of West Australian boys in Zach Ross and I think John McDonald's from over there as well. Pete Savage is in there too.
John McDonald's actually from New South Wales.
Oh, there you go. Sorry, Mustang.
Sorry to spoil the whole WA love-in, but yeah.
That's it. And you got to remember too, you saw the little graphic when we did the driver intro of the shoey as well. That was John McDonald doing a shoey. He actually promised that if he did get a podium in the Bathurst 500, he had to do it. We had to wait till the awards dinner in December for that to happen. And if you were watching it, he actually turned around at the very end of it and said, "Zach Ross, you're next." So the challenge, I think, is been accepted.
We hope and pray.
We hope and pray it's been
accepted.
We do. We hope and see. We want to see one of them on the podium this year, because if we do, then we
won't
have
be John. He's used. No, I'm just joking.
No.
He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
It'll take a miracle, I think. But I think Zach Ross is still holding together his best shot at a podium finish in 2021.
I think it just shows that John McDonald, his performance in the Bathurst 500, he did bring the car back in one piece for Zach to do the job. So that shows the quality of the driving. And you have to be able to know when you're not the A driver and you just need to keep out of the battles. Oh, Devonish. Very taily there.
Yep. Very, very tail happy out of turn 11 and 12. And Kurt Stenberg's joined this party now as well. So this is now a 3-car trio for the podium positions and for the race lead as well. Now, my next question is, let's have a look at all the live timing as it unfolds. So Warwick's lap, 18.9, 19.2 for Devonish, 18.3 for Stenberg.
Oh, Stenberg's in the fence!
Wow!
Just coming out of turn 3, he's gone!
He is gone, and he's been cleaned up as well!
Oh, no!
That is a major, major sausage and a major incident. I'm surprised that's not a safety car. And that is the end of the reigning champions' day. Replay coming up for this one. And Brenton Foley off the road as well. So here we go. into turn 1. What did he do here? Did he just get it all crossed up? Oh yeah, big slapper. Already lost the wheel there. Brenton Foley, look at this.
Comes around the
Comes
corner,
around the corner, unsighted.
bang.
Whack.
Go to the onboard shot because that is quite telling as well.
That is a big, big moment in this motor race. And unsurprisingly, the safety car has been called. So, third safety car. Now, this means that I reckon the whole field will be in here, Hans. And then this becomes a full-on sprint finish right to the very end.
Yeah, you're spot on there. It's going to be very interesting to see what's going on.
Now, who's in the best
Different
position?
strategies will perhaps play out.
Now, who's in the best position here? Because there's a little bit going on. We'll see. And yeah, here they all come. So, in the lane, Warwick.
Stacking.
Oh,
Double
look at this.
Stacking is an issue again.
Yeah, and Savage has to wait. And this is the problem. So, Brendan Ross got a free run. So, that's okay. This is the downside
he's up
here.
on the jacks. And there we go. It actually worked out for them.
They managed to make that work. And then Savage is going to get out as well. So, is there jumping in pit lane? Has Devonish managed to jump Warwick? Oh,
he's going to get it.
And there's
he's going to get it.
And there's gamesmanship here too. So a slowish stop. So just a little bit more on the fuel for Colin Warwick. And it's given the advantage to Will Devonish. So change of the lead in pit lane. Oh, and I've just seen there's a massive unsafe release just happened in pit lane as well. And I'm not sure which car was that.
It was Luke Rosella and Tim Redmond.
So Rosella has gone through, and there's the other Kiwi car, and that's worthy of a replay as well. That was
going off this race. First race was fairly uneventful in comparison.
Check out this for a replay, ladies and gentlemen.
This is a monumental
unsafe release. So is that car?
Bang!
Yep, whack.
Oh no!
There it is. Yeah, you're right. Car 55. So
now, who would you put the blame on that? I would say. But do you have the obligation to let the car into the fast lane? That's the thing.
Well, we're going to have that.
You're coming in. That's the debate that's going to happen. That's the bust-up that's going to happen in the stewards' room.
I think you're right. There's a bit of a debate about how that's going to work too, because the car in the fast lane has every right to try and make their way to the box. And, you know, it's up to we don't have the benefit of the car controllers in this game. So all the car controller says to you if you're using a spotter in the game is just says go, go, go. He doesn't actually tell you that there's a car over your shoulder in pit lane. So it's up to the driver to check what's going on. So that's a hard one to master. The real question is, did either of those cars get any significant damage? That will be the telling factor.
Yeah, and that's going to be a worry for Luke Rosella, especially the strategy could have played into his hands here.
Good to see some feedback in the live chat as well, guys. I think one coming there from Matt Cecil. I think it was from Lockie Lock. I think it was. Yeah, slowest change for the lead. I think he's probably not far wrong there.
No, not at all. But it's exciting on the pit road sometimes to have a look. But definitely a heap of excitement going on in pit lane, and just shows how unsafe it is to be in the real world, especially because, I mean, not just in sim racing, you get steering damage, but in the real world, imagine there are 7 or 8 blokes standing over the red line in pit lane, and it is a very, very dangerous place to be, especially when cars come together like that.
Now, here we go. Ben Hall's actually a lucky benefit here. So he's been told to take a lap back. So he was the first of the cars a lap down. So he's now going to... I think all the guys are a lap down and managed to get that lap back. So
I think Dane Liccardo is out of sequence here, so
yeah,
he's a lap down.
He is too. Now the question is whether or not he's been told to do it. Because ahead of these guys, I was looking to see where people like Benjamin Rhodes and Peter Thrower were and all
so
of this.
Rhodey's gone through, Ben Rhodes has gone through, and Ben Hall as well. So
yeah, you're not wrong. There they are. So they are actually, they've got a wriggle on. Rhodey missing a bonnet in the Rhodey's photos. ZB Commodore. So he's got a little bit of work to do to catch up to the pack. And then likewise ahead of him, the next man up is Peter Thrower. So they have been given the green light to get going and see if they can catch the back of the train. So the good thing for them is they're actually going around at probably about 80% racing speed. So they're actually going to get a bit more heat and things into their tyres. And they'll probably catch the back of the pack with a bit of vigour and also with everything in the right temperature range. But they probably won't make a huge amount of progress from there. They're going to be relying on some mistakes from everybody else. So they are indeed going to cross the line on the lead lap. So that means the only cars that will end up one lap down are going to be Dane Liccardo there, because he was obviously in the pit lane. He's missing that bonnet as well, which was on the side of the road on the run between turns 3 and 4. And a bit of luck, Hans, this should be the last lap under the safety car. This is going to set us up for a really big sprint finish too. So 7 or so laps, and Colin Warwick, I reckon he might be in a catbird seat here. He's actually got a fairly handy turn of pace, especially in the early run. I mean, you called it in race 1. Very, very good car early on in the race. Not so much as the stint wore on, but a very, very short stint might turn to his advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially his racecraft in the early stages. He's able to just get the car in and fire it into the corner, and he can. I don't know what it is, because it seems like the car's about to understeer, then it just sort of pivots around, and he's able to get the nose in, even though the fact that he's probably going 5 or 10k too hot into the corner, and that just shows his abilities at the moment with the car. So the car is very well hooked up, and the nut behind the wheel is doing pretty good as well.
Right, not too much longer until we go back to racing. One of the men that's actually benefited from all the safety cars, I can't hardly believe this, Scott Stancliffe, was at the back of the field.
He's in fourth.
And he's in fourth place.
Unbelievable.
And he's got a rear wing full of Scott Nolan. Ben Hall stop-go penalty. Now, he didn't catch the back of the train, but I don't think that's going to be such a big issue, because he was nowhere near near the back of the train.
Again.
And gamesmanship again is being played out. So that's not a problem. And rear bump drafting, NASCAR style. Off they go. Liccardo's going to get out of the way, so this is going to be good for him. Savage, Stancliffe, Nolan. Brennan Ross now got to fly the flag for PBF. He is on the move.
So here we go. Colin Warwick, is he going to fire it into turn 4? He's not quite close enough. Or is Devonish wide? He's wide, and he's given him a short back and sides as well. Oh, it's going off.
Yep, now this is going to be hardcore for the next 7 to 8 laps.
They are absolutely boxing on in a phone booth, to use one of your mannerisms here, because he's just fired it down into turn 7, and he's going to push him all the way over the curb.
And now the problem is Pete Savage is too far back to try and benefit from this at the moment. Look, the gap has actually spread out. So Liccardo, when he pulled out to let all the traffic through, it's actually scattered the field. And you can see here,
big slide.
Big slide. And everybody else going through now. And a move for Colin Warwick down at 9. And also some moves going on a bit further back. Have a look at this. Burko, Stancliffe, Ross. Lockie Burke's in there. And so too is Zach Ross. Now, where's Luke Rosell is 10th, and he's at the back of this train. So this is...
Stancliffe's lost the spot. He's gone back down to 5th. Nolan's got past him quite quickly. But the cork has firmly gone into the bottle here, because everyone is trying to go every which way to get past Stancliffe, but he's just being the cork in the bottle.
Big defensive line as well, straight down the middle of the road towards turn 14.
Look, it's a traffic jam. They're everywhere.
They are absolutely everywhere. This is almost like the next frontier, isn't it, in terms of battles? Oh, Scott Nolan, what do you get?
Track cut.
Track cut.
Track cut.
So over abuse of the curbs at turn 4.
Disaster.
Sorry, at turn 1. So that means that Synergy Sim Racing, the podium goes begging. But
put them all into turn 4. They're going 2 by 2 by 2.
This is Noah's Ark, 2 by 2. Look at them all. Spread out.
Look who's at the back of that there. Luke Rosella. He is still boxing on after the dramas early in the race.
And Scott Stancliffe has now lost that spot to Steve Burko, but he's driving. So driving is probably as defensively as he can. I think he must have gone to Nether's driving school too many times, I think, in Super 2 last year.
Mitch in the fence
and
on
Mitch
the
in
outside.
The fence. And Lewis Wedding is the profiteer from that one as well. So too is Tim Redmond and Termo as well.
Look at 4 and 44, 4 and 44. They're going every which way. They're zigging, they're zagging, they're going every which way they can. Rossi's in the fence.
Yep, and there's a move here, looks like by Lockie Burke, and he couldn't get the job done. So, wow, I don't know what way to look. I want to keep an eye on the lead battle, which we are doing at the moment to see, but this is a very, very
good
tag.
Stancliffe's around. Did he catch it?
He caught it, and
Yellow
a safety
flag.
car. A safety car as well. So there is something going on somewhere in this field. Somebody is around, and I'm wondering whether it might be Peter Thrower. Looks like he might have come unstuck here. Yeah, we have.
Big incident.
So we have got a replay of this one coming up. And we'll go back and pick this up for you. So we do have an answer on Smith & Sons replay for the answer. There's 4 safety cars in the one race.
So Noah Turra in the fence. Then as it switches over to the next camera, Peter Throw, he's just clipped. Oh, that's a 3-car incident. That looks reminiscent of what happened a few years ago. When I say a few years ago, it's actually almost 17 years ago now, 2004, when that big incident, which was kicked off by Paul Dumbrell, shades of yesteryear, just a little bit further down the road.
So what that does is it gives us the 4th safety car of this race. So everybody just got a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Probably aggressive, I think, in this race. Everybody
very aggressive.
Everybody got a bit
more
more
confidence.
The first race
was very tame compared to this.
You're not wrong. So that gives us another 3 laps under safety car. Now, the rule is the race cannot end under the safety car. So what that means is if we get another safety car, we end up with a 1-lap sprint finish. So safety car's out now. That'll get us through to probably the better part of the end of lap 30. And then we're going to end up with 2 laps to go. So very, very tame race 1. Race 2 a little bit more chaotic. Now, does this shift the balance back the other way? Can Devonish hang on for a 2-lap sprint finish? Going to be furious. Nolan has got to... Now, the problem for Scott Nolan here is he's got to serve the drive-through penalty. If he doesn't serve it, he's going to end up with a 30-second post-race penalty or whatever the game gives him for this one. I would probably just serve it because you're going to end up at the back of the field anyway. So there really isn't a point.
No, spot on.
Just come in after the game goes green and get it done.
Come in as soon as the safety car comes out, unless you're unable to serve it under safety car, that is. But if you come in as soon as the safety car comes out, serves it, you go to the back of the field anyway, but the net time loss is actually a lot less because you're able to catch up on the back of the field. So, I mean, the earlier you do it, the more of a chance you give yourself to actually gain those positions back.
Yeah, the real question, I think you see Lockers just asked that in live chat as well, is what a battle pack. And yeah, it was a very, very angry battle pack. And the real question is it going to continue beyond the end of this safety car period? So safety cars have not really happened a lot at Adelaide in ASR community history. I think there's only been maybe one over the course of the better part of the last 3 years. And we've got 4 in the one race. So
it shows you how the competition has increased year on year on year, because
the ferocity of the competition.
The ferocity,
increased.
Like, I can't believe they are absolutely driving the wheels off these things right now. And I've never seen, especially some of the drivers we're typically accustomed to seeing at the top, I've never seen them make so many mistakes before. So they are absolutely having a real go.
And some big names out of this race too. Brenton Foley and Kurt Stenberg. They're the big 2 casualties of this one. There's just a little bit of funky stuff, I think, going on with the live timing at the minute, unless I'm very much mistaken. Steve Burko up in P5. I see Scott Stancliffe is saying he's in 21st. But I expect the live timing to correct that. There it goes. It has sorted it out now. So P6 for Stancliffe after all of that drama. His teammate in Tim Redmond is in P12. And he's sort of lost a little bit out of all of this as well. Luke Rosella, after going off the escape road in the early going, finds himself back inside the top 10. It's a bit of a jumbled up order, so running through the order, you can see on your screen there, is your race leader. Probably one more lap under safety car. Colin Warwick, Pete Savage, that's the top 3. Scott Nolan in position 4, but has a penalty to serve. And then Steve Burko is the next best placed Mustang ahead of Scott Stancliffe's ZB Commodore. And then Brendan Ross for PBF Race Engineering, Lockie Burke for Hype Sim Sport, Zach Ross and Luke Rosella. So Lewis Wedding on the outside of the top 10 in 11th. He will benefit from when Scott Nolan comes in to take that drive-through penalty. But I don't know what it means for the rest of the field, Hans. I'm looking up here and I'm just trying to work out the infinite possibilities of positions that can change hands in the next 2 laps.
Yeah, spot on there. And honestly, all hell can break loose, to be honest, because we don't know what's going to happen. It's going to be the first green-white checker of the season. And how do we react to this? It hasn't been done before in this series. What are the strategies? How are people going to react to it? How are people going to work around it? Especially if you're Will Devonish, you've got to keep Colin Warwick at bay for another couple of laps, don't you?
Yeah, you sure do. Here's the onboard of Lewis Wedding. He's just buried deep in the pack at the minute. He's tucked in there behind Rosella, and they're now starting to realise that they need to get their tyres and brakes and that in order, the weaving side to side. And we go back to race leader. So not too much further to go. I'd imagine we're about to get a restart. With a bit of luck if a safety car comes in, and there it goes. So 2 laps. Look at the top 3. There's a bit of a gap, there's a bit of tardy gap between a few drivers here. Now, I think looks like Nolan's come in to serve that penalty, so he's getting that over and done with. No errors on the screen just yet. And more bump drafting on the run to turn 2, or to turn 1, sorry. And here we go. Sprint finish, 2 laps.
They're going to use up everything they've got in reserve here, because if it goes, oh, penalty for Tim Redmond, he's overused the track limits.
So that
So
means
straight away, that's ruined it.
Yep, so if it's ruined it for Redmond, so he's got to press on. He's actually just got to keep going and then hope that the time penalty that comes along with
Brendan
it helps
Ross is
him
in
out.
the fence. He got in the fence, and it's actually caused a traffic jam, and he's around. Lewis Wedding got into the back of him.
Yep, so no, I think that just helped Rossi around, because I think he was already going around at that particular point. So that's all fair play. We stay green though, which is the important bit. Redmond's tucked in here behind Lewis Wedding, but he does have that post-race penalty that will come if he does not come through the pit lane at the end of this lap.
So Devonish has got 5 car lengths on Colin Warwick. Is he safe at the moment? Look at the concertina effect. Colin Warwick closes right up, steers wide at the critical moment when he gets the car in, but he did manage to close that gap up very, very well there.
He sure did, and he's only got a couple of corners and 1 lap to go, but the gap is just starting to come down a little bit. So Warwick's temperatures have just come right up to the pressure zone and right up under the rear wing of the CRE Motorsport or Race Engineering Commodore into turn number 14, and this is on. This is for the 2nd race win of the night and for 150 championship points.
Not just that, but also a clean sweep of the races this evening. Can it be done? We saw 12 months ago, it was just a single 250 kilometre race. Kurt Stenberg took out, fastest lap to boot, and the pole position. But can Will Devonish turn the tide for CRE Race Engineering?
I'm not 100% sure if he can. Here goes...
look at that. Look at the run he's able to get. The mid-corner and entry speed is fantastic.
Yeah, there's a massive, massive difference in how they attack those corners, with Will Devonish opting to stay to the right-hand side of the exit curb at 7, and Warwick going all the way over the top.
Massive slide, and he gets the fence. Pete Savage
and
gets the fence as well. Is he going to have a dive? He's going to have a dive.
He's going to get it done, and he's just going to escort him wide here at turn 9.
Look at that.
And he's going to get it done.
Look, brutal move there. Absolutely brutal. It's not going to happen.
Nope, the clean sweep is not going to happen unless there's a mistake at the final corner here. So it's going to be CRE Race Engineering cars on the podium, but not on the top spot as it stands right now because of the late lunge. Looking down the inside, no. Warwick's going to hang on here.
He's not close enough. He's not close enough. Colin Warwick on the last lap of the race. He's going to take the victory.
He gets the job done and spoils the CRE Race Engineering party. So a great return from the DNF in race 1. He picks himself up 150 championship points for his trouble, with Will Devonish position number 2 and his teammate Pete Savage with a podium finish on debut in CRE colours. Well done.
Very, very good job there. I'll just have a run through the field now. We've got Steve Burko, a very stellar 4th position. We thought it was all over for him. Lockie Burke.
What a result for Lockie Burke.
Luke Rosella in 6th. Good recovery from there. Big salvage operation. Lewis Wedding in 7th, but there may be a question mark over him. Zach Ross up 18 spots.
Good job
at the start of this race. Turbo gets into the top 10, and Lime Mitch rounds out the top 10 as well.
Well, story's going to be on what happened in those last couple of laps. Will was fairly and squarely beaten, I think, on that one. I don't think anybody can argue with that, Hans. That was a very, very, as you called it, brutal move. Made the apex, just escorted him a little bit wide, did the right thing, gave him some room on the outside, didn't put the car in the fence, but took the momentum away from Devonish, and it was enough to get the job done.
He was able to force him over the curb and just create the instability for the car to not let him get a good run out of it, and to sort of cover off that dive maneuver that he's going to do, the crossover at turn 11.
Yeah, not wrong. So into the garage everybody goes. There you go, Steve Burko. So some notable performances in that one, Hans. We take a look through the field as we just wait for everybody to get themselves up into the garages, get themselves out of the cars, out of the sim rigs, and off to pay us a little visit. And let's see, NZ Snipes just missed out on the top 10 there as well. So
very,
missed
very
out on,
solid evening for him.
but good solid evening. And Scott Stancliffe and Tim Redmond, they had they fell through the field at the back end of that one. So positions 16 and 17.
I'll just run through some of the position getters there just after 11th. Cheese in 12th, very good job there. Peter Thrower in 13th, he did actually make his way through the race, so that's good to see. Rhodey, solid 14th. Noah Tara in 15th fell away. Scott Stancliffe and Tim Redmond, how frustrating must it be for them getting together early in the race and a good position in sight, and unfortunately it all went pear-shaped. I think it was Cam Rutledge, and then next was, and actually the timing screen has disappeared, so let's just hope for the best here. But I did notice also that Scott Nolan down in 21st. So very, very frustrating evening for the SSR boys.
Yeah, but he did the right thing. He came in and took that penalty when he needed to take it. So that was the important piece of the puzzle, because if he hadn't have taken it, he would have ended up probably with a 30-second penalty, and he would have been a lot further down the field than he otherwise would have. Just waiting to see if we can get our race winner up to see us. But we'll go to the podium positions, and we'll have a chance to have a chat with everybody that is in the box with us at the moment. So we'll go with the bottom order up this time, and Hans Brunswick has got one Peter Savage with him with a debut podium in CRE colours.
Yeah, Pete Savage, very stellar third position. Did start from pole, so did fall back in the race, but still a very solid evening.
Yeah, well, I actually had a problem after I did my qualifying lap where my wheel seems to have screwed itself, and I have no force feedback. So that last race was very, very hard for me, and it was made even worse by a lot of the top runners getting way too argy-bargy and pushing everyone around, which with no force feedback made it incredibly hard.
Geez, that's a hell of an effort then there, isn't it, Hans? I think we've seen
Yeah,
a couple
very,
of
very
people
solid.
have to drive with no force feedback over the years, but especially when you're punching on with all the race leaders like that, I can imagine it probably would have been pretty daunting.
Yeah, we have seen hardware troubles come up, but it is quite a common problem with the Logitech G29. I have faced it myself. Nether, I'm not sure if you faced it as well, the reset force feedback thing. So very, very solid effort considering that. But Pete, how are you feeling? How are you settling into your new home?
Well, I will say we probably, we didn't do much practice whatsoever. I pretty much didn't do any. Yeah, it has been really good. I mean, we were kind of already building on it at the end of last year. Started doing a few sessions with them here and there at the end of the year, and we've transferred that into the new year. The setups that we'll post very much suit how I've been driving the last few months, and yeah, it's been meaning I've had a very nice, solid and steady race car in the race. It's been a very welcome change from last year.
Does it add an element to, I told you so with your old team? Is there a bit of rub there still?
I wouldn't say there's anything in there. It pretty much just always came down to me and Burko have a pretty big rivalry, and we've never been in the same team. And we just felt that when we were in the same team, we were trying to work together where usually we're both on opposite teams pushing each other, which I honestly reckon, especially with how that second race went in qualifying and the race, really proved that, because me and Burko were much faster than usual.
We were just remarking that your old sparring partners in IGL and now in ASR as well, so very, very good job there, but congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, he certainly let his driving do the talking in that one, didn't he? That's one thing we remarked about very, very early in the broadcast, was that he preferred to let his driving do the talking and let those put those differences aside, and he did a fantastic job. Also doing a fantastic job for albeit but the last lap of the race was the second place finisher, Will Devonish. So, Will, you couldn't quite pull off the double in this particular occasion, but you had a fight on your hands every which way you looked tonight in that second race.
Yeah, it's oddly enough, it was only really the first 3 or 4 laps that were the comfortable ones, and then after pit stops and safety cars, just couldn't really get away or get any sort of rhythm happening. But yeah, look, second place. Not going to complain with that, especially with the sort of team points we're hauling in for the first round. Little disappointed it wasn't a first, especially with that overtake maneuver, but we'll see what comes of that.
No, you're not wrong. And look, I guess you can't complain. You've walked away with a very, very solid bag of points. Not the maximum, but as close as you can probably get to the maximum, with a number of the big guns failing to really trouble the scoreboard in either one race or another. And obviously with Kurt having an unfortunate accident on the second race there, leaves you in a good position at the top of the leaderboard going into round 2 in 3 weeks.
Yep. We'll go back to the drawing board on Monday and go back to practice, and hopefully round 2's as successful as this one.
Certainly hope so. Looking forward to see what you can do in a couple of weeks' time.
Thank you.
Well, Hans, let's go to our first place finisher, and I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to go back into the history books to dig out one here, but Colin Warwick, welcome to the top step of the podium.
Hey boys, how are we?
Good to see you, and good to have you back having a crack in ASR Supercars, and I can't recall whether or not you've actually had a race win in the top tier category. It might have been back in 2018 if it did happen, but
Bathurst 500.
There you go.
Yeah, by myself. Yeah, that was good.
That was. How'd you find that race? What a move at the end of that race. You boxed on fairly and squarely from my point of view, and got fairly down the inside, just escorted Will a little bit wide, and came out on top. And it seemed that your car always seemed to have good initial traction off the starting line. Your starts were beautiful all night long. Unfortunate for race 1, but as the stint sort of got on those first 3 or 4 or 5 laps, your car sort of really seemed to be in the zone.
Yeah, I haven't been comfortable with this car since I started driving it. As you know, at ASC we run a different tyre, so getting used to this old Super V8 tyre, it's sort of a lot to do with throttle control and getting the power down. So I knew if I could get the power down, the tyres would be okay over the long run. But yeah, no, it was good. I noticed Will made a mistake into 8, and I sort of backed out a little bit, then accelerated through 8. And I knew if I could just get the nose down there, I should be able to pull something off. Plus, having Kurt in my ear yelling, "Have a real go," was pretty funny.
Yeah, I can imagine that probably would have been. I can imagine that probably would have been. I would have thought the expression would have been "have a dip," not "have a real go." But I guess.
Is it bad that I know exactly what that would sound like? I'm just thinking of his voice blaring in my ears right now, Cole.
It was screamed. It was
screaming. Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been polite, that
the last
conversation.
safety car going green, he was yelling, "Have a real go," at nearly every corner. So, yeah, just had to tighten the belts and have a real go, as he would say.
Yep, we certainly did. And you walked out with a race win, and it's good to see a different face on top of the podium for a change as well, Hans. For it's been a while since we've had a new winner every now and again. It's been a bit dominant for, I think, the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. And Cole, you've done a very good job tonight. And also, did you actually reckon that you could get it down in the inside? Like, was it sort of, did you actually reckon you were going to make the move stick, or did you just sort of run with it and hope for the best?
A bit of both. I knew that if I could get down there, I could probably get it stopped. But for some reason, those cars that Will and that drive, they have unbelievable braking performance. I'd love to know how they get that. But yeah, it just seems that they can brake 20, 30 metres later than anyone else. So I just thought I'll have a go. And yeah, it sort of slid on the rears at the end, but I was down there. I thought it was a fair move. So yeah, I did escort him wide, but there was a lot of that tonight from both parties. So, it goes both ways.
I tend to agree.
Very, very forceful driving from yourself, Cole, and for the lead, it was definitely boxing on. But I think a certain Alan Moffat would say something about that, and you definitely know what I mean.
Yeah, he would, mate. He definitely would. Unfortunately, I haven't had enough practice to do it at the moment, but maybe next race win I'll try and have a crack at it.
Yeah, not wrong.
Well done, mate.
Good on you, Colin. Good to have you back. Good
Thanks,
to see you
boys.
on the top step. All right, well, that just about wraps it up here, ladies and gentlemen, for the opening round of the ASR Supercars for 2021 with Smith & Sons on board and 2 races in the bank and 1 round down, Hans. Game on in 3 weeks at Symmons Plains.
Absolutely, game on in 3 weeks. And not just that, now we know what a green-white checker finish is like. We had 2 laps to sprint to the end. It was pretty unbelievable. And for Cole to get the race win, at the dying stages of the race, and Will to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory is pretty unbelievable. But they boxed on for the whole race, and they're very evenly matched. So despite any sort of advantage in braking performance, Cole definitely had an advantage with traction and the mid-corner speed. So the cars are definitely going very divergent in their setup, but I think it just made for a great show because we knew where the strengths and weaknesses were, and it was very strategic. So very, very fantastic. Can't wait for 3 weeks' time.
Certainly can't wait for 3 weeks' time. You saw the calendars during the broadcast there, guys. There's plenty of ways to get involved in Australasian Sim Racing if you want to come along and race. Look us up on Facebook, Australasian Sim Racing, and there's plenty of little fun series, some more serious series, some casual series, anything that can suit. Most of it's on the Automobilista platform. There are a couple of things coming for the RF2 platform, starting to branch out a little bit and do a couple of different things. So if you're keen, why don't you think you can come and have a go? Until next time, please drive safely and see you then. Bye for now.